So I've got a good 2 hours because I've got an appointment. Well, 2 hours and a half. I got an appointment at sometime 12 o'clock my time. I know it's
Yeah,
2 p.m. at your way, so 2, 3, 4. But I got to like 4:30 your time. Is that cool?
2 hours is good because the long ones exhaust me, because I do a lot of singing and stuff like that, and I'm just doing Wonderwall at the moment, and my voice, gets very tight because I make a lot of videos. But I asked you if you wanted to do another chat because I can't find any real men to talk to, Ziggy.
Well, I'm
What
glad you thought of me when you thought about that because I think you came to the right place for that,
Yeah, but
bro.
you're the only real man I know, to be honest, who can articulate, express himself, and think sufficiently quick enough to hold a conversation. You know, I do have. Now and again with conversations, but it's kind of like it's always me that's leading, and it's kind of like it's always me that's feeding the conversation, and I want somebody to stimulate me. I want someone to challenge me like you do. I want someone to
Yeah,
quiz me and to get me thinking because you're thinking. And I asked
yeah.
my viewers, and Ziggy, I've been asking them for fucking years. In the early days, they used to come, but now they won't come. And I say, well, um, why is that? I can very easily slip into a propensity of being demeaning. Like, come on, I say, it's only fucking talking. It's talking. That's all it is. Your life doesn't fucking depend on it. Your whole livelihood doesn't depend on it. It's just a fucking video. But the terror
Yeah.
that strikes into people because they think, well, what if I say something wrong? Or if I look silly and that video's out there and, I can't do anything about it. What do you think's going on with the fear today in relation to that? When, fundamentally talking is one of the first fucking things we learn to do. Even before we walk, we're uttering a few words.
Yeah, it's funny you mention all that because actually, the funny thing is, I was making a video earlier, and it came down to a point where I was living a certain way, where I was feeling like I would, let's say, quote unquote, living large and in charge, right? I was living in New York, making tons of money. Uh, Everything was just going my way the way I wanted it to, right? I even had girls literally anytime I wanted it. It was crazy because I walked around, I had the six pack walking around. I still got a six pack, but I'm saying back in the day was like that was what I was all about. Walked around without a shirt. I always had a good amount of attention, but that made me feel really, I don't know, just got my juices going. It got my testosterone going. It got my manhood. It made me feel good. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like somebody having this illusion of power where if you have money in your pocket, where we know if we break the fundamentals of money, I mean, what does it cost to print $1 bill to $100 bill? It's pretty much the same thing. The only thing is we put more value on the $100 bill because the collective believe that the $100 bill is worth 100 more times more value than that $1 bill when they're both just paper, right? But when I had a full wad of money in my pocket, it gave me this illusion of power, right? See, here's the thing. I was
Well,
making a
yeah,
video on
hang
this
on,
topic where,
Ziggy. You say the illusion of power, but okay, so society, the world being an illusion of that, but it buys you everything you want. You literally can get everything you want. Even you can get
right,
girls to fall in love with you. If you tip
we're
their
gonna get
box,
into that actually. Yeah,
huh?
we're gonna get into that actually. The whole, because I have no problem. I don't. I want the viewers and everybody to understand. I have no problem with money. I actually love money. I actually feel good when I have money in my pocket. But the reason I even brought this up is because there was a moment where I got home from work, and it was one of those days that it was a lot of mental stimulation that day. I mean, I ran a team of demo reps, and I remember I sat down in my couch, and I just started to feel a little bit like, woozy. I felt woozy, and I just sat there, and I wasn't like sleepy, but I was tired, so I decided to close my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I remembered that I was starting to see the swirls. I started to feel this energy come through me. And I was just weird, but I was aware through the whole thing. And from then on, I got really curious because I started to feel like my body was floating. And it was something I've never felt before, right? And then from that moment on, uh, that childlike curiosity was what I would correlate to somebody kind of like being a little bit more open, like a flower now, right? Like a child. You know how they get that childlike curiosity, and I feel that this is where they learn the most is when they're actually in that genuine childlike curiosity. Like if I watch a video, I watch your video, anybody's video. there could be that fine line where you would watch it like a child and literally genuinely want to learn something, like you would be open like a student. Or you ever notice you watch a video and that adversarial side of you comes on and you just want to challenge that individual because you gain so much of this wisdom that you just now want to like go and start challenging this individual? Are you really like picking anything up, or are you just there to become an adversary to try to make it? It's like an ego expression, right?
Yeah, well,
The reason
obviously,
I bring this up,
is it?
but yeah, yeah, yeah,
We get lots of these on our channels, yeah, because
yeah,
we attract these sort of people that want to challenge us. That I know more than you know, and I've got them on the channel now. And you know, there's even people that say I knew every single thing you spoke about in your book, and I'm like, well, what sort of person says that? A person that really wants to challenge you. And I think, and I speak to these people, and I've been trying to get him on, but I think, you know, when you upset people, when you challenge their beliefs, which are not substantiated, you strike terror into them, and they want to protect themselves and alleviate the terror by attacking you back. So then they attack you back by saying, I know more than you, and you know nothing, and I'm enlightened, and all this, because it's this desperate attempt to protect their fragility and their falsehood within. You see, because what I'm always doing, I'm always in every video, I'm just throwing the dog a bone. Throwing the dog a bone. I'm talking about the fiction of Jesus, the fiction of religion, the fiction of life, and this and the other. People don't want to hear that because it upsets their apple cart, and it diminishes everything about their life because it's all premised in belief. But I say, look, I'm not being a meanie. I'm not trying to diminish anything. I'm trying to give you something. Because when I take away all of your fictions, then what is left is the complete realization that you are God. And you are creating all of your dream, and the world is your oyster. You can get lucid in this dream, and then you can go and get whatever you want.
yeah.
What do you
Well,
think
what
about
was your intent with
it?
the?
You see that in my
It's
videos?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But here's my question: was your intent behind making the book, was it to teach some your viewers something, or was it intentionally made as a story?
It just had to be downloaded. I was compelled to download that. Like many people are. Many writers say, I just wake up in the middle of the morning, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I get broken sleep all the time. I have to go into the computer and I've got to get this stuff out of my head because something is channeling through me, something's working through me, something is telling me to do this, and I won't be able to rest until I've done it. That's why I stood at this computer for 8 solid months, 5 hours a day, and it was all on
Yeah,
my mind, everything. It's a compulsion, and I don't say I'm in control of my life. I don't believe in free will. I think I'm here exactly where I was supposed to be, and I could never have changed it. So that book is useful as a guideline for people on a awakening path because it's pretty a standard thing, Ziggy. You know, the dark night of the soul, the hero's journey. You know, the beginnings of the awakening. You know, everything implodes, and you know we can't talk to our friends anymore, and we have to go inside and become recluses, and then we have to go, what the
right.
fuck's going on? So we're looking on YouTube and we're reading books. Yeah, well, we do this for years and years and years. So the book will be very, very useful for people who, you know, are struggling with that because it gives them comfort. It's like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh my goodness, that's what I've got to look forward to, and all these sorts of things.
So it was so like my original question. I didn't say it had to be downloaded, but was it intentionally made to teach your viewers something, or was it a story that you were just trying to tell about yourself in that book? Because we look at the Bible, and the Bible is known as the greatest story ever told, where people think that they're supposed to read the Bible and learn something from it, when in actuality, it's supposed to be a story. If they realize it's the story of themselves, is something that they already know. So I guess maybe if the viewer said that they already knew everything that was in the book, I guess it's a smug comment. But in that instance, I would have said, well, you know, that's good that you pretty much knew everything that was in the book, but it was intended as a story for you to know about me. But that's why sometimes when I make journals on my videos, I'll put out information based on my journals. If somebody was to ever say I already knew what you said, I'm like, well, okay, that's good. Mine is a journal for myself. If you've had the same experience, then I guess you can relate, which is why you knew whatever you already knew already. So that's why I'm asking you: is your book a book to teach people about something, or is it a story that you're talking about yourself and you want to see if it resonates with anybody else? which you kind of answered in that point when you said that somebody may have had similar experiences. But is it meant to teach people, or is it just a story?
Well, I mean, of course, it encompasses all those things because what I say to my viewers now is when they want to challenge me, when they don't know what I'm saying, when they discount things I say, well, look, you've been a viewer for a long, long time, so it's obviously you're interested in what I say. So
Mhm.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable step for you to read the book, and then you'll know the root of where I'm coming from. And then you can go, aha, 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 because there's many things that people are missing. And, if they haven't had this arduous, spiritually awakening journey, then they're bereft of all this. And people look crazy when they're saying all these different sorts of things. But, I hold up books like, almost 3 inches thick that I'm always working through. And these books are deep esoteric stuff. And I'm saying, look, if you want to know what's at the top of the pyramid, you've got to go all the way back down to the bottom of it. There's no fucking way out of it. If you want to know what's at the top of the pyramid with whatever's being, espoused on the world today, you've got to go back to the root. You've got to go through all the history. You've got to go to ground zero. And then you've got to come back. And it's a very, very arduous thing. And this is why very, very few people do it. But the book I wrote originally because I was compelled to do it by spirit. I had so many spiritual experiences. And so, therefore, it was an opportunity and a guide and an opportunity to learn for people. I needed to pay it on because that's what I've been doing for 15 years again. I'm paying everything on, because I consider that I've been blessed in many, many ways, and I take everything from the whole world for my comfort. And so I can't just sit here in good conscience and enjoy that and go, fuck you. No, I have to labor too. I have to work too. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what all my videos are incessantly for 15 years. I've got no control over
Mhm.
that. The Spirit has blessed me, but it says there's a condition, and this is what you must do. And I do it like an automaton. I do it, Ziggy. I've got no fucking way of ever getting out of it. It just comes and it has to come out. And so, yeah, that's what it is. And so that's why I say, facetiously, jokingly, but many a truths spoken in jest. Book is the first world spiritual Bible. Why? Because it's got a whole range of masters in there, which I call upon, and I say, well, look, I went through this, and this is what Plato said. Then I experienced this, and this is what Lao Tzu said, and then I had this going, and this is what the Jung said, and all these different sort of things. I've come upon many, many things, and I look around and I go, well, who's experienced these things? And I discover them, and I go, well, you need to know about this. So what I do is, while I'm talking about my journey, I put an insert in of people that have said this stuff 2,000 years ago, or even very, very modernly. So they can read that background and go, aha, I get it. I get it. And you're not just talking shit. You're not just picking stuff out your arse, Aaron, because this is aligns very much with what you say with what they say. And so that's what it's all about. And so and then, I have to incorporate my meditation, my out of body experiences, my supernatural experiences, and all this different sort of thing, and my life experiences, studying my psychology and knowing where I went wrong, knowing where I was a fucking idiot, knowing where the only fuel I had was testosterone. I never had any estrogen. I never had any femininity. I completely lost contact with that. And that's why ultimately I imploded because the tension and pressure was too much.
So you have no femininity in you now at all?
Oh, now I do. Yeah, now I'm balanced.
Mhm.
Now, yeah,
Mhm.
I had a supernatural experience, Ziggy, and I write about it in the book. I write all about these. When I'd been shot in Africa, and it looked like I was going to be losing everything, which is a $300,000 investment. And I came back, having been shot, ran out of money, and I was broke, and I was super, super stressed at the end of my tether because everybody was after my blood. Africa a white man in Africa, they are going to suck you dry until your bones are absolutely brittle. That's the nature of it. If you're remotely affluent in an extremely poor area, well, they're going to absorb it. It's a natural thing. I'm not saying it's an evil or anything like that. It's a perfectly natural thing to happen. Your wealth has to be spread even. And so my wealth had to be completely dissipated, and it had to be spread across the whole continent, of Africa. But so coming back, I had this. It was the absolute most crystal clear, the purest and stillest and most beautiful of conscious awareness when I was in the most brilliant, bright blue sky. And I never had a body. And I just had the awareness, and it felt like it was wonderful. And it was like angels were just gently singing in the distance, all dreamy like. And down below me, I looked and I saw two angels lying on a pedestal. And this pedestal was made out of marble, and it extended what I thought about 10 miles up from the earth. And it was about 8 feet wide, and it was magnolia in color. And these two young angels, they were human, but one had wings. The male had wings. The female never had any wings. And they were both looking up at me like this, with long, curly hair, all bronzed and tanned. The male had beautiful, powerful wings, but the female had none. And that was the message I was given. And I came out of that and I'm like, oh my God, that was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. That was a supernatural experience. And so I was reading all these different philosophy and psychology at the time. And I think about 2 weeks later, I went into an old secondhand bookstore, and I was floating through, and I used to have to get the oldest and the dustiest of books. And I got this one by this guy called Carl Jung. Carl Jung, but it's Carl Jung, spelled with a J, and I didn't know what the fuck. I started reading that, and then I started reading about archetypes, and then in the section on archetypes, speaking about angels being an archetype, and then a bit later, he's speaking about the anima and the animus, and I'm like, oh my God, that was an archetypal dream. It was showing me that the masculine facet of me was well powerful in his flying fucking muscles this angel had on him, but the female had her wings clipped, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on there? And I realized my feminine side, my anima, couldn't take flight because she'd been overpowered with my obnoxious egotism, with my testosterone. So it took me 10 years, Ziggy, to get her back to be able to take flight, to get my softness, to get my compassion and empathy back, and to engage again in all the softness of what it is to be a human being,
Yeah. All right. So, I'm going to always play the devil's advocate and always play the challenging role, which, this is going to be the question I'm going to ask you, though. You see how you have a preacher who would read the Bible, or let's say read certain philosophies about religion, and then they go be a preacher, and then they've even claimed to have experiences with Jesus Christ, right?
Yep.
Which, if you look at their description of what a Jesus Christ would be, it would be a man. You said your experience with these angels, they were humans. Everything is basically just anthropomorphized in a way, even manipulating our imagination, that first layer of where we see our reality. So you are very well aware, we've had talks about this, that your reality is a mirror of what's happening within you. All that's happening, even in the etheric realm, is still projecting something from within your mind, and you're anthropomorphizing it, making it a shape or a figure, a form, and it's mimicking what we have here in this 3D realm. So let's say, for example, these preachers, they start to preach the word of God, they talk about religion, and then they say the same thing. They'll say, I need to share this experiences with the world because this is something that it's mainly spreading the wealth amongst people. So they have an experience based on stuff they read. You said you were reading a lot of philosophy and a lot of books at that time, and then you were having these metaphysical experiences and you wanted to share those things. Does that become another religion in a sense, where you spread it with people in a way where you say this is the way it is, and you play that Christ figure saying that they should watch and read your book because it's considered another Bible? Did you get my question on that, or do I have to phrase it differently? I think you understood that, right?
For many years, I wasn't in the teaching thing. I was crippled inside. and I was learning, I was reading, I was educating myself, and I was reading these books that Spirit guided me to read them because I didn't want to read this boring as fuck philosophy, book after book after book after book.
Hmm.
You know, I had on my bookshelves around my house 500 books. Which I'd read in a 3-year period, and lined up with 20 Sigmund Freud books and 10 Carl Jung books and Plato and Aristotle and all this sort of stuff. And I never even heard those guys before, but you know, I was drawn to go to these secondhand bookstores and just buy as many as I possibly could. And so
Hmm.
the experiences we look in the Bible, angels are anthropomorphized. They come in human form. They don't have wings.
Hmm.
Nobody ever saw an angel in the Bible with wings. It's like nobody ever saw a saint with a halo. It's symbolism to indicate to people pictorially, you know, what they are. Because if you've got Jesus standing in a group of people, he doesn't have a halo around it. Well, oh, which one's Jesus? You know, well, that one's Jesus, the one with the halo, the spiritual guy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Where's Mark? Where's Archangel Michael? Oh, there he is, the one with the wings. You know. So angels don't need wings, of course, but you know that's what we as human beings we bless them with, so we can distinguish because it's all premised on symbolism. And so, I
Hmm.
mean, I don't have any intention. There's better things that I could probably be doing than spending my life in front of a camera, Ziggy, to a fraction of the population, you know, to a handful of viewers. Really, you know, if I wanted to make something of me, then I'd be doing it in a very different way. I don't want to make anything of me. I'm just doing my obligation, and if my obligation only brings in 300 views on my videos, that's nothing to do with me. That's to do with the world. That's to do with the algorithms. That's to do with the cosmos, whatever. I'm doing my obligation, what Spirit is telling me to do. And Spirit isn't telling me to go and stand on a fucking soapbox out in the marketplace preaching. Spirit is telling me to do this. So that must be enough.
Yeah. Um. So can you let's get into this. What is a man, and how is it that you would distinguish a man from a non-man? Like, what makes a man a man? And I'm gonna listen to you. I just gotta get something over here real quick, all right?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, you know, I said to you, I said, let's come and talk because, you know, I want to talk to you about being a real man. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, but what is being a real man? I mean, being a real man is like a protector, a go-getter, a labourer, a warrior, something that's dependable and honest, and you know, all these fine attributes. Um, but strength is a big part of it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're full of muscles, but you're mentally strong. You got a heart of a lion. That's a real man, because a real man isn't a coward, Ziggy. A real man,
Right.
it just doesn't hide behind other people. If there's a fight in the bar, he doesn't get behind his missus. That's not a real man. You know, so a real man is this warrior aspect, the Julius Evola type of bloke, and that you know, leads the way and supports the family, and you know, carries the weak and all that sort of thing. So, what's your
So
interpretation?
when you say warrior or labor, that's basically a physical trait. So I remember in one of the videos you said you got the beard, you got the muscles, you got the look of a man. So does that make the man is the way he looks, or does it is it something other than just being a laborer and a warrior? Because those are all like physical traits and aspects. And I understand that in this physical realm, a man is stronger than a woman. But I'm gonna get into what my description of it is. But is that what makes a man? Is the physical traits, what he looks like, his strength, and what you described? Is there anything else to it?
Yeah, I said that the attributes of manliness are the protector. You
Mhm.
know, being strong enough to be honest. Because I
Well,
don't see.
women protect too, though. That's why I don't. I have to like when you have a positive and a negative, they have their own individual traits. So a woman protects. Like I got a female cat. I put a video short where a male cat jumped on top of one of the babies, and the mom came and literally charged at that cat, and it scared the male cat away.
Yeah.
And she just came out with this crazy ass meow that even I felt it in the core of my spirit, where I'm like, that is the most powerful meow, and it was the most softest, but it was the most powerful meow I've heard. That if I was the male cat, I would have been like, yo, let me get the fuck out of here, because that spirit was just gigantic. So
Yeah.
the protector could be female too, though.
Exactly, exactly. So when my Providence, she was pregnant, she would
Hmm.
kick any other squirrel's
I can hear
ass.
you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Hmm.
females or males, it didn't matter because she had the chemicals in her body which were on red alert protection mode, and I've known squirrels even to attack human beings. If they feel threatened in a way, and they could be male or female, and so of course females have a very very powerful protective instinct, but invariably they're not strong. So what I'm talking about archetypes, because we can dwindle away the attributes of a man until he morphs into a woman, because you can say, oh well, women can be honest and women don't lie and women are strong and women are protective, and all this sort of thing. And this is why I've never really wanted to broach this conversation with you before, Ziggy, because when you said to me, what's a man, before, I say it's the opposite of a woman.
Right, but either way you put it, when you have a woman still has testosterone in her, and a man still has estrogen in him. So yeah, a lot of the attributes that you find in man, you're gonna find in woman, but there's still unique individual. That's why they're considered the opposite, like polarities. There's got to be a certain distinction that separates a man from a woman. Now, what I don't understand is, the whole labor type of, part, because I hear a lot of these red pillars online. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't
I had
see
a
that.
call that came in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm, let me put. Yeah, go ahead. Don't worry about it. So a lot of these red pillars, they'll go online and they'll start like bashing women. That's something that I tend to observe, and I say, well, where does that even come from, right? Does that make him a man, right? And the whole thing is that when you look at a female, and I'm gonna get to what my description of it is, because there's men who say they're men because of how they look, but just based on their core, I can see that they're no different than, let's say, if a man just has a mental disorder and he feels like a woman, and he starts wearing a wig, gets breast implants, chops his dick off, and then he says he's a woman. In my opinion, I look at that as a man in a woman's costume, but it's still a man. You get what I'm saying? Now, when I see certain men that are very big and burly, and they say they're men because of how they look, they look like women dressed as a man. That's just my opinion on how sometimes I look at these people. And these people online, like they say, for example, they'll demonize another man because he doesn't have uh, a manly job, let's say, like a laborer. So they start to now kind of shame and ridicule this guy because he doesn't have a manly job, right? But then the guy that's ridiculing that guy about not having a manly job used to have a manly job. Now he basically depends on his job being online, making money off ridiculing people never who never had a manly job. You get what I'm saying? So now that guy went from being a laborer to now using technology and making money off of technology, which is basically a job that doesn't involve any type of manhood or labor. You could sit here and gossip and talk like a woman online all day and make money claiming to be a man because you once had that job.
Are you
It's just a
talking?
form now.
You
Now let
talking
me
about Andrew
finish. I'm gonna
Tate?
finish that part. Well, let me finish. I'm gonna. Well, we could talk about Andrew Tate and all that because he's another woman. But here's the thing, though. Now it goes, and there's different people online that do this. Now they evolved from being a laborer, the man job, to now being online, making a lot of money off of that. And then you got all these sheep-like people who are in like feminine energy, and they tend to flock toward people like that when it's nothing but an illusion now. Because here's the reason why I'm even mentioning this. We once built the pyramids, and we believed that we did it through labor and hard work, right? I not for 1 second believe that that's how the pyramids were built. I'm somebody who believes that there's much more to the body based on my personal experiences, that the body is able to do things that we cannot even fathom. But we separated that godlike ability to be more human like, and we merged with technology and merging with humanity. Humanity is a technology. But once you leave your own centered self to basically fit into humanity, then you left your manhood to basically fit in to the flock. It's like having a sheep like herd mentality. So you went from masculine to feminine. Humanity is the feminine. When you're individual and you're your own self and you think for yourself and you're the type of person that's you're your individuality, you are now the masculine energy. You're the one. Okay. When you're in the whole, that's the feminine. When you look at man now, as far as the technology of humans, they built something in their image now, which is called the technology that we're using now, which is computers. So now they went from being less human to now being more robotic. And you can see, as far as us being social creatures, we once sat at dinner tables, we talked to each other. Now we stop even doing that as far as being social creatures to now depending on the computer to have social creature interactions through that, the means of social media. So we stopped from God, we went to man to humanity. Humanity now created in the image of man, we went to computers. That's where the whole concept of man created in the image of God came from. We stopped being God to go all the way down to the rabbit hole of just being computers. And that's how we merge with AI. That's being in feminine energy. Now, when you got a guy pointing fingers at a girl, let's say they're using the internet now, aside from shaming a man about the job that he never had, being a man, being a laborer, being a warrior, now he says that he goes online to shame women, where in actuality, I've had many interactions with women. There's women who have more that light within them to actually, you know, have that masculine energy because they never had their father in their life. So they had to basically develop that within themselves because everybody has testosterone and they'll use the technology and they'll use their body, exploit their body to make money, right? And then now you got these guys that are criticizing and demonizing these girls who maybe they're using OnlyFans and whatnot, but they never had the guidance over their father. They never had their guidance from their father to be able to have a different path. So they found that path within themselves. It's basically them taking order out of whatever means they have to actually make money in this system that's designed and ran on us making money anyway, right? So they're exploiting their body. Back in the day, we used our body to build pyramids, but we didn't use it in a way where it was physicality and, you know, these hard labors. We used what Tesla said, energy, frequency, and vibration. It was a godlike ability to be able to create without having to use force. Without having to use force, that's the masculine energy. It's basically an integration of masculine and feminine. When I see that back in the day, there was a teamwork between man and woman. Woman had the ability to have an intuitive feeling. She was able to create from within her. It was like a container. And then they merged and then the man put in the work after that. That's like the project at work, like saying faith without works is dead. But that was the end of what I had to say there, bro.
Okay, so what is your definition of a man then?
So a man is the physical manifestation of what masculine energy is, all carrying that feminine energy within them too. We only look at this physicality in the form of viruses, bacteria, and DNA, right? But the definition of a man is actually the light of the world, is the positive force, is the light of the world. And especially if you have children in your own worldview, that's the only light that those children are able to actually get the light from is from their biological father, regardless of how they came into the world, whether it was a deadbeat dad or the greatest dad in the world. You know what I'm saying? So the definition of a man is basically the physical form of the masculine energy. But you would have to understand what masculine energy is for you to even understand, let's say, what the man is in physical form. You get what I'm saying? It's no different than if I use a positive and a negative prong. One is electric, one's magnetic. You have that charge. The neutral ground is what you're observing, the consciousness, the Christ consciousness that nobody has online. They just in the ego. Like, for example, let's say you have a job. You have to get to the job on time because you're afraid that you'll get fired. So it's still rooted out of some type of fear. So that structure is designed for you to have to follow some type of order. Suppose me and you had an appointment let's meet up at 9 o'clock and you're late, you didn't respect my time. But because there's nobody holding you accountable for it. You get what I'm saying? So in other words, I would respect somebody's time because I treat my neighbor as I would myself. That's a reflection of me. That's a Christ consciousness because I'm not doing it out of fear. I'm doing it as I would treat others as I want to be treated myself. That's the definition of a man, is actually being the structure and order without having anybody else to hold you accountable for it. You hold your fucking self accountable for it. And you treat the man outside of you as a man because you recognize that that's a man just like you. That's a man.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? How do you treat a woman? A man should never lay his hands on a woman. A man should never curse at his woman. A man respects his woman because he recognizes that that's the feminine energy. That's also the negative polarity of himself. You get what I'm saying? If you don't understand that, then that's why men, oh, I turn to God. I don't want to have a partner. I don't believe in marriage because I turn to God. If that's the case, then you just consider yourself a homosexual because you go from positive energy to just merging with all the positive energy that you want. Learn how to integrate that. You'll find that perfect partner and you'll have that perfect chemistry in life to be able to even create from sex magic. It won't even be having sex, it would be making love. So a man doesn't need anything outside of himself to basically sustain himself. He's self-sustaining. That's a man.
Hmm.
But go ahead. That's my definition of it.
Yeah. Okay. So all of this stuff can be constituted or considered to be word salad, um, because we all have opinions, we all have projections, we all have ideas, and so if you ask 10 different men what is a man, you get 10 different ideas, and of course, when you say a man is with masculine energy, well, I've known plenty of women in my life which have got more masculine energy than the vast majority of men. And so, well, that doesn't stand up to reason. Like just been saying, you've been saying that, when women have not had the father figure, well, they've got to fucking pull up their own bootstraps and go out there. And why do women drive trucks and fucking massive stone crushers and diggers and all that sort of thing? What's going on there? They're evidently more masculine. They've got boots on, they've got jeans on, they've got all the gear going on. They're identifying as men. And so I don't think it's got anything to do with energy. I don't think it's got anything to do with anything per se. I think it's all ideas. And this is why we have people, the eminent psychologists like Carl Jung, who spoke about archetypes. Because in the past, everything is symbolized, everything is collected into conglomerates of all these different sorts of word salad into an idea, into Platonic ideas, because we can't define anything ultimately. And
What is a
everybody,
word salad? What
it's
is
just
word salad?
a mumbo jumbo of all different sorts of words. You see, because
How did you equate what I said to word salads?
well, because look, it's not a derogatory thing, Ziggy. It's a
No, no,
thing
no. I
that
don't take it derogatory. I'm trying to have an understanding.
what we do is when you ask me, well, I'm going to go, okay, you could ask me, let's say 4 o'clock in the morning, you could wake me up and you could go, hey, Aaron, what's your definition of a man? And I'll go, oh, fuck. And I would give you probably a very different answer than what I'm going to give you if I've just come back from the gym.
Why? Why?
What? Why? Because the energy levels change our disposition, and we will pull to the forefront of our mind certain concepts for what it is to be a man, where others
Yeah,
will
but
rise.
that's based on different characters and personas, though. So if you're talking from the fundamental core, you're talking from God. That's always going to be the true answer. So there is no because that goes back to anything could be true, anything could be false. It's there's truth and there's false. So if we're following right now the laws of logic, which is what separates us from animals, there can be a truth that can be a lie. It has to be one or the other. So we follow the laws of gender, the laws of polarity. Even if we want to get pseudo and talk about the seven
Well,
hermetic principles, we can't say one thing is true one moment and then truth another moment. It's not like that because
yeah, well,
it's just like I made videos. I'm gonna finish here. I made videos on this where I said that at one point something was true to me. My frequency and consciousness changed, and it's no longer truth, right? But where does all that stem from? It has to be a fundamental root core of it, and it's either masculine or feminine. That's why I said one or the other. It's not one. And here in the physical realm, that's why I equated angels and demons together because we are the medium, and we actually have this integration going on within us. But we are not the angels and demons. They're aspects of ourselves that we use as chemistry to actually have an experience here in the realm.
so do you think angels and demons are separate things?
Angels and demons are separate things. Yes, one is of the negative polarity, one is of the positive
Well,
polarity, and they
well,
work together if the medium is healthy, like a tree. You have a mycelium network underneath feeding the tree, and in kind, that mycelium network, since it can't live above ground, it needs what's above ground to keep it sustained. This is why even angels and demons exist. It's because humanity exists. If humanity didn't exist, they would not be able to exist either. It's like the gods, anything. Nothing exists if we don't exist. We're the medium for positive and negative spirits.
yeah. Well, in the beginning of all mythology, where all things derive out of, and we've got the very first concepts of things, and philosophers and thinkers are putting things together. Well, the original gods, they're all androgynous. They're all masculine and female, and the Jews, in relation to Judaism, they don't believe that the devil is a separate entity. They believe it is a facet of God, and I do. There is no difference. There most certainly isn't any truth, and there most certainly isn't any
You're
direct.
saying exactly the truth right there. 100%. That's why I just said, if we're observing it here in the realm, you're in the world, but not of it. You're observing duality, but it's an illusion. So we're experiencing polarities, but we cannot say that they are one because we would not even be having an experience here. The reason that it manifests as duality is because we're observing it through the body, and whatever you're predominantly in, you'll express as that, which is me as a man, a woman as a woman. But the whole thing is, the angels and demons working together, as I use the analogy of the tree, is the way that because we have estrogen and testosterone. And the reason we have estrogen and testosterone is the reason we can use these polarities to our advantage. But say, for example, you as a man don't have your lower animalistic natures intact, then you are basically operating more out of like a chaotic, distorted feminine energy. That's animalistic. The kids, the children, woman, animals, it's all feminine energy. The only thing here in this realm that's all good is just positive energy. And I'm not equating it to gender because people associate with these things, and that's why it becomes a debate. It shouldn't even be a debate. The fact that these things exist within us is the reason why we use them and integrate them. Animalistic natures that you don't have dominion over, like they say in the Bible, is why you may act out certain things in life unconsciously. Let's say, essaying a woman, and then you end up in jail and you get treated like that animal that you did that you were in. Because if we're in, and we're over the animals, but if we act like animals here in this realm, we designed it where we want to fulfill a social contract so we can have a harmonious experience. Then you'll just be put in a jail cell and treated like an animal, where you'll be told when to eat, when to go out. You'll be put in a cage just like an animal. You're not even your name. You're just a number. Because I've seen it even with the highest profile mafia drug lords. They don't even, they shave their mustache. They shave their heads. You're no longer who you thought you were. You're just a number, and you are stripped of your identity and that's a symbol by even taking off their mustache that they were known for, their hairstyle, everything was stripped. They're not even able to see their family. So that's a separation now from society. They're treated like animals. So if you act like an animal, you'll be treated like an animal. The key here is to have dominion over the animal kingdom, which is the root chakra. That is going to bleed into even finances, because a stable root chakra even manifests as you making good money, you being able to have harmonious relationships, you being able to go out in your garden. The plants are green because you have a green thumb. Why? Because since that's balanced, you're in your heart space projecting your reality from a heart-brain coherence. That's Christ consciousness. Christ points to the heart for that reason. But all the elixirs are working in harmony, on point. That makes you a well-structured universe. So you're creating reality, but you're creating it harmoniously. You may even have a woman or not have a woman, whatever it may be. It's all within you. It's not like you need a woman in your life, but because if you found that within you, it's within you. That's being in God mode, but that's it. I mean, I'll let you go in on that because I kind of forgot where I was even going with that.
Yeah. This were you referring to El Chapo?
Yeah, El Chapo, absolutely. So you notice how Pablo Escobar got killed, right? That was the best way to go out, because you don't have to go through the fucking tortures of what you're going to be going through here in the physical realm, right? But
Yeah.
here's the thing, though, and I always say this: what is bad? If you're going to be bad, you have to be bad. If you're going to
Yeah.
be good, you be good. You know why Pablo got caught? Because he was bad, doing bad deeds, bad acts, but he still had that in him, that where he had attachments to his family. He was going crazy because he couldn't see his wife, his kids. But if you're going to live that kind of life, you have to know that the outcomes are where you are absolutely not attached to anything. Because if you
Yeah.
have attachments, that's the easy way to get caught. Why do you think police officers or anything, when they're looking for somebody, the first place they look is their immediate family members, where they could potentially be looking for resources and whatnot?
Yeah, well, it's the
You
same
have
with
to be
Bonnie and
completely
Clyde.
detached.
Bonnie and
Yeah,
Clyde, there were always spies outside the family members of Bonnie and Clyde, because at some time Bonnie and
right.
Clyde always used to show up very surreptitiously, but
That's
they always
right.
used to Sure. Now, El Chapo, in solitary confinement, 24 hours a day, no window, no door, no TV, nothing, 24 hours a day. He's not only treated like an animal, he's treated like a devil. He's treated like a devil because he's considered to be a devil. Because to be
That's
in
right.
that circumstance is the most terrifying place you could ever be, Ziggy, for the rest of your life. That's
No
why even
sunlight.
a hardened criminal was crying like a baby when he got sentenced, for the rest of his life to stare at those four walls and go crazy until you smash your head on the concrete. Yeah. And so,
Mhm.
if you act like a devil, then people are going to treat you like a devil. So when we get back then to all the attributes of what it is to be a man and a woman and this that and the other, and this life thing and all the masculine and feminines and the polarities and everything like that, yes, of course, this dimension is governed into polarities because it couldn't exist if it wasn't. But the paradox of it is, as we all know, spiritual people, that we are actually all one. We are, made of the same stuff, and we share the same consciousness, and we are not separate in any shape or form, but it's the operating program that enables us to separate from each other. I'm Aaron, you're Ziggy. At the end of the day, but if you go out on a spaceship, like one of these space modules has done, and send back a photo of Earth, and it looks like this, this small blue dot with Carl Sagan thing, how can you say that you're separate? Fucking hell, you look at the mass of the cosmos. How can you say you're separate here on planet Earth? You're not. But if we're going to live the fiction of being an individual, a human being, then of course we have to have all these fictitious divides. But when we become spiritual, we know that these divisions are not true. And so when we talk about masculine and feminine and negative and positive and all that, well, they all just fade away, really, depending on how you want to think about them, how you want to utilize them. And when people become more and more spiritual and become more and more retreated away from society, then all the ramifications and the laws and the social norms and everything become more and more vague as you retreat more and more away, because they no longer are a concern of yours. What's a concern of yours? More and more concern of yours is your own consciousness. And what do you make of your own consciousness? Well, whatever demons you've got not unresolved, or whatever anxieties and passions and this, that, and the other, you've got a whole world going on inside here. You don't need that world going on outside there. And so if you become really, really still and really, really accomplished, then you even manage to get rid of all of those as well. And so the only time then you will actually have anything in your life is when you choose to focus on something. And so for a solitary person, I'm pretty solitary. If I didn't turn on the computer, Ziggy, then there would just be my consciousness, because I invariably don't speak to anybody all the time. So you see how we closed reality down, and all of it becomes a dream because we're not engaged in it. We're not dreaming it, you see. So nothing is actually manifest out there. And I spoke to you about last time, you being a younger man, you doing stuff that I was doing, 20 years ago, out there making, stuff for myself and my family, being a man, providing for your family, and, you've got your partner and all these different sorts of things. But then when you get older and older and older, all that slips away from you. And just to mention as an aside, my daughter's grandmother, she's 83 now. She's gone into a home, and her mind now has gone into fairyland. She's constantly, it looks bizarre. She's like some sort of caricature. She is actually aware of the fairy. She doesn't know where she is. She barely remembers people when they go and see her. But that's it. And so what happens? Nature has a way of retreating us back from the fiction. Why? Because we don't need it anymore. And it's only going to traumatize us when we are letting it slip away physically. You see? And so therefore then, people just start, they'll lose all their mentalism, which kept them connected with the fiction of the world around there, and then they'll end up back in this baby state. And so we come into this world in this baby state, and then we're programmed with the fiction, and then the fiction just starts to fade away and die away until in the end we're back in the baby state again. So this is what I'm always saying. Well, there's nothing real here. It's only real if you want it to be. It's only real if you engage it. It's only real if you consciously create it and all these different sorts of things. So anyway,
Aaron, let me ask you this: if because I hear this that humanity is in an awakening state? Do you feel like humanity is in an awakening state, or do you feel like they're in a falling state?
I think they're falling.
Falling.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
What do you
the
think?
reason I asked this is for this. Well, this is the reason I asked this. Do you agree that the more spiritually awake and inclined you are, the happier you should be, and the less miserable and the less depressed you should be? Because if you were enlightened, you can go one or two ways. You can go into the state where you're unaware and you'll fall into conspiracy theories, you'll fall into rabbit holes,
No,
and you
you
may
don't do that
start
to enlightened.
creating
You
your
don't do that.
reality. Well, I'm gonna finish right here. I'm not gonna make it long winded because there's a lot of people who convert when they're not aware or in their masculine state, let's say, they now create spirituality as another religion, right? Or let's say, for example, a person who's enlightened and awake, they truly start to see the beauty in things in a way where they say love is the answer to everything, in a way where even the beauties, they see the beauties even in the corruptions, the things outside of them. They start to see that the way they can integrate this is the
That's
way
correct.
that they can have a harmonious life in their reality. You
Yeah,
believe in that?
that's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct on all levels, and most certainly complies with all of my experience.
Mhm.
You see, in my book, I speak about all of the entheogenic experiences that I've had, and on one particular occasion, I was high above a township in a beautiful park in Portugal, and I had my DMT pipe there, and I was really annoyed because it's a beautiful day and a beautiful park, but down below, in this little valley, which was echoing back, there was builders and there was a steel store. And I'm like, fucking hell, where do I need to go on this planet to get away from these annoying, human intrusions for spiritual stillness? Where have you got to go? It's like there's an evil demon conspiracy that is always in relation to human beings because they're always making noise and breaking you out of that peace. That when you go in nature, Ziggy, far out in nature, you just go into a dream. It's the most beautiful, surreal thing. You go into fairyland and you start thinking about pixies and elves and stuff like that. I do in any case because that's the realm, that's mythology. You go into the collective unconscious. But when I took this DMT, as soon as the DMT hit me, every single thing of frustration completely dissipated, and the world was absolutely perfect. And I contemplated the murder and the wars and the mayhem and all that. DMT told me is absolutely perfect, and I come out of that and I'm like, holy Moses, I've got to work this one out. How can this be so? The only way, ultimately, I worked it out is if the world can be perfect is if we don't consider it to be a reality. Now, DMT obviously doesn't consider it to be a reality. DMT is vastly, vastly more intelligent. And what it tells you, it fucks with you for being a human being. It's jokingly, it's kind, it's loving, but we're idiots. We're fucking idiots and we don't know anything. And so our egos, the operating system, tell us that I don't like this and I don't like that and I don't like something else. But when you get spiritual, Ziggy, when your mind becomes super peaceful, when you become awoken and enlightened, then nothing phases you anymore because you know it's all perfect because it doesn't have that realness to it. It doesn't have that pain. It doesn't have that suffering. Because like when we are dreaming and we are our avatars in our minds and we're dreaming and we're doing this and we're fucking and cussing and people are trying to kill us and all that sort of stuff. Well, when we wake up, it's kind of like, oh fuck, it's only a dream. And that's what I think it is. It's a dream in the mind of God. So therefore, there's no pain and suffering to it. So when we become enlightened, we realize that, Ziggy, because we're not a part of this. We're a part of the collective consciousness, the consciousness en masse. And we're just having a dream here. And so, I'm all speaking about this dream in many, many different
Well,
ways.
Aaron, let me ask you this before you go on. At what point, I think I asked you this before then, at what point do you say, because I'm enlightened, nothing phases me? And at what point do you say, I need to stand up for what I consider a corruption on the planet?
I don't think there is per se corruption on the planet. Look. The whole thing about being enlightened, and what is enlightenment? Who knows what enlightenment is? And I don't. I only
Because you
ever
said being a man is being a warrior and whatnot. Wouldn't a warrior stand up for what's right?
Well, I mean, it depends, because it's about priorities. Because look, the most of the people in modern society, Ziggy, they've got family, kids, and wives and things. Well, what I would say, it isn't a man that goes off to fight in Afghanistan. That's a fool. Right, that's an egotistical fool. A man would stay and protect his family and
Mhm.
his kids. That's the paramount thing. And so ultimately, if you have kids, well, your priorities change in an instant. If you don't have kids, you can be a man doing what the fuck you want. You can be a warrior, you can be a go getter, you can be a creator of your own empire, like Alexander the Great. But as soon as you've got kids, you've got an obligation. You stop with that bullshit.
Well, yeah, well, you basically lead by example, but the whole thing is, at what point does your leading by example become just a preferential thing over what is actually objectively right? Like, do you believe there is a objective right and an objective wrong, or is everything just subjective? Because I feel like whenever you raise a child, you say, "I'm raising my child good because I'm raising him in a Christian household. I'm raising him to be a good man." Is that preferential, or is that just the right thing to do just to be conducive in society?
Well, obviously, you've got societal laws, you've got societal norms, you've got your social obligations, and then you've got your familial obligations. You've got your own conscience, which is going to be telling you what's right and wrong. Everything is a subjective experience. But, it's like Russian Joels.
Hmm.
We've got our subjective experience, but also we're contained in the familial experience, because we can't just do what we want, because we've got other people to consider. Outside of our home, we've got a neighbour to consider. Outside of that, we've got society to consider. We've got government to consider. We've got a country to consider. We've got lots of things to consider. And so this is why, the a philosopher, you could never nail a philosopher down, because it just isn't simple. There's always so many billions of other variables. And so if you say to me, well, what is this and what's that? I can't offer you anything definitive in any single region. What we have to do as human beings, we have to make decisions at each stage of our life, with the best assessment that we possibly can, that we're doing the right thing biblically, spiritually, religiously, by other people around us. Being selfless, but caring, making sure that the people around us are safe and provided for. What do you think about
Is
that? Do
there
you agree?
anything that you would say? I totally agree with that, by the way. Absolutely agree with that. Because we have the right and wrong within us. It's whatever we resonate with, what's right and wrong at that moment determines what is right and wrong for you. May not be right and wrong for another person. But what do you have anything that you can say is absolutely concrete, objective reality that you cannot change?
The only thing that I would say is, by any shape or form, concrete as far as this physical conscious thing goes, is the fact that I have consciousness, or consciousness has me, or there is consciousness. And this, of course, is what
Well, how
Rene.
would I know you're conscious though?
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
I wouldn't know your concept, but that's what I'm saying. An objective reality would be something that I would have to agree, and you would have to know, and I would agree that it is objectively true.
Well, I mean, yes, I don't believe there is any objective truth.
Well, I believe there's one thing, and that's why I equate man with God. So, for example, you are obviously appearing to be a man because you have a penis, you have body, you're a man, you're a physical man. So let's say, for example, you came out and told me, "Hey, Ziggy, I feel like a woman today." And then all of a sudden you put lipstick on, shave your beard, and started to, try
I
to
thought about
convince
it.
me that you're a man. Yeah. So supposing you tried to convince me you're a man, right? And I wanted to be, oh, I want to try to, blend in society because it's a norm to make people feel like I want to fulfill my social contract. And I decide to say, okay, fine, and I decide to address you as Miss Aaron instead of Mr. Aaron, right? But what would be right of me to address you as Miss Aaron because you want me to address you as a woman because now you feel like a woman? Or should I still address you as Mr. Aaron because I believe that you are a man and you're not a woman? So you're
Yeah.
saying that we have to fulfill certain societal norms and fulfill social contracts and whatnot. But I'd have to lie to myself to try to make you happy and say, okay, fine, Miss Aaron. Meanwhile, I know you're really a man.
Yeah, and so therefore, then, when we have situations like this in the world today, which is completely preposterous, and we are bent and crippled into obliging other people and pretending that a man with a beard with lipstick on who calls himself Shirley is a woman. And, if you're a woman, well, expect me to see you in your private realm, the toilet. Yeah, I mean, it's all
Mhm.
bizarre. It's all mental. And I personally, I'm in no agreement with that. Like the likes of Peterson and
Right,
Murray and Harris and all the major thinkers out there, they all know it's a fucking preposterous thing because they know what the root of it is, Ziggy. It's to break down every single social norm in every single society. So we're just a seething pus of nothingness that can be controlled any fucking which way because we don't have any semblance on reality anymore. That's what they want to do. They want to
right.
take away all of our reality. And if they do that, then it's kind of like fucking idiots here. Now we're just going to put them in the pulverizer machine because we can.
You see why I asked you that question though, because that's an objective truth. The objective truth is that you're a man and that can never change until the day you just cease to exist. So you're always a man, regardless of how many costumes you put on. Right. So now we walk around saying, I'm a police officer, I'm a carpenter, I'm this. You're only those things because a paper says you're those things and you went to a accredited establishment to get registered as that, right?
Yeah.
So we can pretend to play games and say, yeah, that's cool. Like a mechanic, is he really a mechanic if he learned mechanics in the street and went to fix cars? I've seen certain street mechanics that never went to school who are better mechanics than the actual ones that actually went to school. You get what I'm saying?
Almost.
So these things are just titles. But the only thing that can never change is that you're a man and your body is God. And God expressing itself in either a positive or an expression of feminine, which is a woman, even though the negative or the positive of the opposite exists within you, you're still that expression that can never change. Even biologically, we want to go scientifically, we want to go spiritually. You're still a man spirit. You're a masculine spirit that you can never deviate from that. Any type of that's why we call them mental disorders. It's like your reality is mental. Like that's why the Hermetic principle says the mind is all, the universe is mental. But a disorder would be out of order, meaning the masculine energy is not aware of itself being a man, so it has a disorder and it's distorted, thinking that it needs the same gender or it feels like a woman now or it likes the same sex. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So that's why I say the objective and subjective, but not to say that there's something wrong or it's bad to be like either gay or somebody feeling like they want to be transgender. At the end of the day, even if they have the superpowers that we have as far as spirituality goes and they're able to utilize this energy, they can use it to their advantage, which a lot of people in power actually do have. You can see that the majority of the world is ran by homosexuals, I guess. You know what I'm saying? If you want to say that.
Well, very,
But
very, very, very
at
devious people in lots of ways. Sexual deviance and
right.
all these sorts of things.
So
But
now,
Ziggy,
even when I'm gonna cut it off here, let me just finish this last point. Even when we go into the negative side of the force, right? We are here only learning about the light, saying Christianity or it's good to be good, but they have no understanding of what's bad. So how could they know that they're being good if they don't even know what the bad is? It's like saying, how could you have out of darkness comes light, right? So I feel like the people in power, we would start to become aware of the evil natures of like what the people in power are doing. Like we start to say they're doing these heinous things. These people that are now starting to come to light of the heinous things that they're doing. You know, I feel like it's all black magic, but the black magic is being utilized in a way that's able to the same way we have order and dominion over the animal kingdom. That's the chaotic natures of the negative energy. Is the same way how it works with magic. If you have order and dominion over the negative side of that polarity, then you're able to have a more stable, grounded, positive masculine energy here in the realm. That's why we say the man in power, or the man behind the curtain. It's that man behind the curtain actually has the negative natures intact, something that we have no awareness of. And because we have no awareness of that, we're not able to use our real true spirituality, because spirituality is of the negative nature anyway. It's of the unknown. It's of the metaphysical. The physical is more of what we would consider the realm of light. But where is it fundamentally coming from? Out of darkness comes light. Where is that coming from? Your mind and consciousness is rooted out of where they wanted to basically establish and come from. So you don't even know yourself. You think you know something because you're looking at what man is presenting to you. They propose this reality to you. It's not like they're forcing it on you. You decide to say this is true and this is not true, but you don't even know why you think that's true or not true. You just go along with it and you resonate on that frequency. And if you truly knew yourself, you would know that everything works. It's just integrating. Everybody's talking about the same thing, whether you think about somebody talking about flat earth or round earth, they're talking about the same thing. It's basically going to look however you perceive it to be, because on a quantum level, you collapse your reality into existence. I collapsed you into existence. I have an idea of you. Everybody wants to have a certain idea of what the planet looks like. The planet is a potential, it's a weight, it's a mirror of your heart, right? So if you're looking at your world like this, it's going to look flat. If you're somebody who knows their body, you're going to start adding shapes and forms and all that. And again, your mind sees everything upside down. I mean, you see everything upside down, your mind makes it right side up. I start to look at people who say, oh, what about the people on the bottom of the planet? They're upside down. You know what I'm saying? It's just a mirror of you. It's everything that's happening within you. It's already projecting from within you. It's the heart space. But if you're not having that heart brain coherence, you don't even have an understanding of that. If you have an understanding of what you think you know, but you don't have an understanding. That's my position on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we look at all these things, I mean, it's all perspective, and I've been speaking
Yeah,
a lot about it for years in my videos, and a great deal recently, and so what I always do, and what I'm trying to introduce to my listeners is that look, let's just forget about our perspective. Let's see if we can put our consciousness in other perspectives, because if we can do that, then we can see that, well, I mean, it's just like a disco ball. The disco ball is shining out with lots of other different perspectives, but the disco ball is one disco ball. So we're all one consciousness, and there's a billion, trillion, gazillion eyes, looking around, seeing different facets and different things. And so if we realize this, then we'll have a bit more acceptance, for how different people see the world. So what I do is then, if I come back with my consciousness and I go back to ground zero and I just go, let's pretend that I'm the first man, I'm Adam, and I've just been born on the world, created out of dust and whatever. And well, what do I know? Nothing. Basically, I'm a primate. I'll feel hunger. I probably won't know what it is, but instinctually, I'll start putting things in my mouth and eating it, and then work it out from there. Then, when Eve comes along, well, maybe I'll start making a few grunts, and then we'll start to recognise what that is. That will morph into language, and eventually we'll get words, and then we will start having concepts of things, and then we'll build our world. Because prior to the words and the concepts and the language, there was no world, Ziggy. There was just a stuff, an indiscriminate stuff. So until we have a word for a tree and an apple, then there are no trees and apples. There's just energy, nondescript energy. Yeah. So if you come
yeah,
from that up to a sophisticated level of society now, then we've got all these impositions of the fiction. It's all fiction. Every single bit of what is going on here is all built out of language, concepts, and ideas. So therefore, there's no reality whatsoever. So I don't get involved in it, at a spiritual, awoken person's level. But then, of course, I have to come back to the hard reality that there appears to be something here, and I appear to be here in this world, albeit I don't believe in it on a certain level, because I can dismantle it. I can dismantle it very, very easy with my mind, and many other people have done the same sort of thing. And so we only then come back and say what is a man and what is a woman, and what is love and what is hate, because we've got fuck all better to do. Now, there's one video, a little clip of one of the Matrix movies that somebody sent me on one of the videos. And he said to me, "Oh, you're very Agent Smith in this video, Aaron." And this little video, it's a clip. Let's say it's a minute long, and Agent Smith is standing in pissing down rain and this and the other, and he's just been fighting with Mr. Anderson. And so Neo, he's on the ground and he's slowly pulling himself up, and Agent Smith says, "Why did you do it?" Why do you keep getting up? Why do you keep fighting? Why do you keep believing in the fiction of a reality? Only a human being could invent the ridiculous concept of love. Have you seen that bit?
I did, and this is what I was talking to you about when it comes to angels and demons. Do you see how he asked him, "Why do you get up? Why do you get up?" So you have the polarities there.
And he
Remember, I
says,
told you that the humans. Mhm.
because I
What?
want to.
Because you want exactly. But now here's the thing, though. Angels, if they fall, they're fallen angels. They were never angels. Just like demons, they're not meant to rise. They cannot. It's like mycelia. They cannot live above ground. They have to be in hell. The angels are basically meant to be in the upper realms in heaven. That's what makes them angels, right? The beauty part about humans is that humans, they fall, they have the ability to rise up. They fall, they have the ability to rise up. It's mainly what the angels and demons are within us. You know what I'm saying? That's why I mentioned that whole entire polarity in the beginning of the video is for that reason.
Mm. So getting back then to one question in relation to truth. So what would really be your idea of truth, if indeed you ever thought there was any? What would be your truth?
Well, the truth is that I'm a man, right? I am in the body of a man. This is the
That,
body of a man, and it's never going to change. Well, I'm going to explain what I'm going to go with that into with that,
they're
because
concepts.
that
They're just concepts, aren't they?
well concepts. Well, this is what my conscious. I'm consciously aware of this right now. You see, the only reason anything exists in my reality is because I'm consciously aware of it. The only reason anything exists is through consciousness. You even act. I asked you before what's objective truth, and you said that you're conscious. You have consciousness. So the only reason anything exists is through consciousness. So I'm aware that I'm a man, and that's nothing. That's never going to change, regardless of how much I ever try to mutilate my body. That's an objective truth. Now, when you know you're God, that's another thing, because I can ask you, what is God? What is your
Do
definition
you
of
know your
God?
God?
Once you take, I know I'm God. I take authority over my life, and I have the ability to destroy or create an idea based on my awareness and consciousness. And based on chemistry is how we roll here, right? If I'm aware of negative things in my life, then I can actually neutralize it, or I can transmute it one way or another. I'm going to be the one in charge of it. That's positive, shedding light over the negative. That's already me taking control and authority over my life, because the word God is authority. You got the God of the water, the God of the air. I'm the God of my life. And my life is basically all things, all ideas that basically man could possibly think of and unknown. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
You create
Now,
everything.
everything,
That you experience, you are
everything I
building.
create.
Therefore, we
And if
all make.
right, I agree. And then here's the thing: if I sit here and I complain about something going bad, that's me unaware that I created that, and that's me out of my God space. The moment I sit here and I realize I created it, I can actually transmute it the same way I created the negativity. I can create the positive. I can transmute it or I can discard it one way or another. It's all mindsets.
Yep.
It's all polarity. See, the whole thing is a lot of people confuse nihilism with basically neutrality. Neutrality is a superpower, but it has nothing to do with being emotionless or heartless. It has nothing to do with that. It's maintaining your frame. You're in control of your emotions, because if you're not in control of your emotions, the feminine energy has taken over you, which is the negative side. In this realm, you have to be predominantly positive for you to have an experience. Again, if you're negative, you're not conducive to reality either way you put it. Everything is glued by love, right? Because there's bad and good. They're integrated, and it exists as a reality of bad and good, negative and positive. But the thing is, people polarize to something. They become, when you polarize to something, whether it's bad or good, you're becoming an adversary. An adversary is, the word Satan comes from the word adversary, means opposer. You're against something, but in order for you to be against something, what you're against has to be against you too. You know what I'm saying? And because you're against it, you'll manifest something to be against you, because you decided something to be against you. It's just like people say we have to fight the enemy. The only reason you have enemies is because you became an enemy to something else. It takes two to tango, right? That's why movements exist, because you polarize to something, you create another movement. They have to lean against each other. That's why it says good against evil. We even use the word against. Against is basically a support unit. They have to lean against each other for whatever idea it is you're fighting against has to exist. That's what creates one war. You know what I'm saying? That's a reaction to the polarity. That's why when I made a video on Terrence Howard's doofy ass, where he said 1 times 1 should equal 2. but that's not even true. One times one is one. One is the individual. One times one. Suppose that I watch a video that's in action, because he said the action and in action always equals a reaction. But if I watch a video, that's one action. If you make a video, that's another action. Suppose that I watched a video, I can make a reaction to your video. It didn't multiply your video by two. It's still one video. It's just one reaction to one video. So it's always going to be one. That
But
one times one equals two is kind of like trying to be an adversary to a system that's already created on
well,
mathematical
yeah,
equations
it
perfectly.
is, Ziggy. But his point when he says 1 times 1 is 2, he says, look, this is the multiplication chart. Everything
Hmm.
on here has to multiply. And when we speak about multiplying, things have to become more. Now, 2 plus 2 equals 4, or 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. And so, therefore, on that multiplication chart, the logic of it has to mean that 1 times 1, 1 in addition to 1, 1 manifesting another one has to be 2. You
No,
see,
because but that's why we have one plus one would equal two. One times itself is only going to be itself. That's what you only look at it like that if you're in the realm of duality, where you say one times one. I'm you and you are you, and then we have two people. One times one. If it's one times myself, I could watch myself on camera. It's still one individual, even though it appears that I'm looking at two
yeah,
of
but
myself.
you see
I
where
can look at myself here.
it was coming from, the times thing. The time things means multiplication, and so therefore, then what it should say is it should say 1 equals 1. It shouldn't say 1 times 1 equals 1. It should just say that.
Okay,
It should be outside of that logic
but
of
he did equate. He equated action times an action equals reaction. That doesn't make sense. So that's the reason why. Because do you believe math is a language? Because math is a language in and of itself. There's actually gematria. There's numerical value to even certain words. It depends on context. Because at the end of the day, if he's saying one times one and he equates that to an action times an action equals a reaction, that's totally false. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't even follow the laws of logic. One times one. Suppose that I have a pen and I say, I want this pen, I give it to you, an illusion of myself, pass it to me one time, I only have one pen. But suppose that I tell you, pass me a pen two times, and you only have one pen, you didn't just multiply two pens, I still have one pen. So if you tell me, pass me pen two times, but you have more than one pen, then I'm able to have more than one pen.
yeah.
But it just depends on context.
You're
It's a
seeing all this
language thing.
stuff. You're seeing all this
It's
stuff.
kind of like using a word like five different ways. Huh?
Yeah. But you see in all this stuff how different people can see different perspectives. Now, Terence Howard, there's no doubt he's a very, very, very bright person. And when he was on Rogan,
Intellectually, and yes.
Eric
Mhm.
Weinstein was speaking with him, and he says, "Well, look, these designs and this math and these thoughts you're thinking, he's evidently very bright. There's nothing, no doubt about that." And
They're
so,
both bright.
yeah,
They're both bright, but in their individual sectors, they just didn't know how to integrate. None. That's why I said that's a perfect example of science and spirituality not merging with each other.
yeah,
That's a perfect example of Terrence Howard, even him being a representation of like the adversary, the feminine energy. He's not able to actually communicate his perspective to a scientist to be able to get those to integrate together. That's why you have it's like flat Earth versus round
because
Earth,
they speak
and it's
different
just like
languages.
religions. You see all the religions talking against each other. Meanwhile, they're all talking about the same shit.
Yeah, and that's it. You see, and this is the whole concept of the Tower of Babel. When Yahweh ordered that everybody in the vicinity would be speaking a different language, and they wouldn't be able to communicate with each other. So I've been speaking about this, been making lots of videos about it, and I'm saying, well, look, isn't it a very, very curious thing? Because if you've got people who have the same accreditation coming out of university, you've got people with PhDs and they're doing the same subject, and yet they cannot agree on the same thing, then there's something fundamentally wrong about that certificate, which is the same, and it's telling the world that these people have the same accreditation, when in actual fact they don't, because, or if they do, then it isn't utilized the same by other people's minds, because one is absolutely firm in their conviction and the other's firm in their conviction, and they could be right, it could be a paradox, but they don't marry up, Ziggy. And so this is the world. This is when we get into this realm of the world is paradoxical, because you can have two geniuses doing the same sort of mathematical equations, intelligence, and for some reason they'll come up with a different idea about it. And so that's what's gone on in the whole world. That's why we all are, remnants of the Tower of Babel. None of us can actually see eye to eye with the next person, because we don't share our individuated construct. Our individuated constructs are very, very different. We have been born into individuated worlds, effectively, because we
So do you
create
don't
our
think
own
that the
world.
more you don't believe that the more intellectual you become, the less common sense you tend to have? Because I feel like these people they depend on these books so much, this intellectual property that they want to claim to have because of what they studied outside. They lack common sense now. It's like they polarize completely to a left brain perspective and not really able to
Yeah.
integrate a right brain perspective. It's like an imbalance. You don't
Yeah,
believe that?
yeah, absolutely. Because like this
So
is the
now
downfall.
here's the thing. Right. That's why I believe, look, one times one, and I made this in my video, one times one can equal two, but it depends on context. But one times one in a mathematical equation that we're in, creation is already created. We're in a mathematical universe. Changing a variable could have catastrophic effects. Changing a variable could even cause something that we would even consider a Mandela effect. It's just changing a variable. We say, well, if the now moment is very important, what happens next? We have many variables to consider, but a variable is just a mindset, a thought that we decide to actually partake in, that can actually be a variable that can change an outcome that could have been something else if we would have had a different variable in mind.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about, because it's all context, it's language. Do you
yeah,
believe that, or do you still not agree with that?
yeah. I mean, are you familiar with Gödel's theorem? This
No.
mathematician Gödel, he proved, because up until Gödel, everyone was like, "Well, you can't discount the veracity of math, because math is always going to be 1 + 1 = 2, or one
Mhm.
plus one equals
Yeah.
one." Whatever we agree it is, whatever we
Well,
agree
well,
it is.
here's this. Look, before I forget about this, you see how they say Christ in man, man created in the image of God. We are one with God. That would appear to be two different things, but only because man thinks that God is something separate to itself. So this
Yes.
is where I could even say that language is distorted if you're looking at it from the perspective of one times one should equal two. One times one is one man times, but God times one man is one. That's one with man. If I say I am creating man in the image and I'm creating a genetically modified version of a man, or like a clone or something, that could be one times one would equal two. But if I'm one with God, God doesn't have a face. God doesn't. The face of God is what you're looking at on camera. The face of God, the name of God is what you're seeing on the screen. Zigzagzilla. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well,
From your perspective, it would be Aaron. It would be whatever face you have. You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? But it's just like people don't recognize that, and it's not
Well,
even a. This is why I said it's a recognition. Recognize. Like I recognize this. I look in the mirror. What idea and image do you have of yourself? Some people have a very low self-esteem. I happen to feel very big about myself. I look like a titan to myself, but that's how I feel. That's how I carry myself. That's how I talk. That's why people think that sometimes I'm very, the way I talk, they say, "Oh, I can't deal with him." Well, then you, that's because you're too small and I'm overwhelming you. You get what I'm saying? That's fine. I'm not for everybody, but that's the thing. What image do you have of yourself? That's how you would carry yourself. That's how the world would respond back to you. And you gotta. It comes from you first. The world will see you how you are first. That's how you know you're God.
yeah, and so when I say very often in my videos that I am God, deal with it, and I'm saying, well, how could anybody tell me that I'm not God? Because you can tell me that I'm not God through your belief system, but you can't take away my godliness. And if I truly believe that I am God, created in God's image, which is the same thing, well, who can take that away from me or you? Because we both believe that.
You
Now,
can't. That's
just let me
why the real.
just let me follow on
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this a little bit, Vicky, because
Mhm.
this is it, isn't it? We're dealing with these people that think God's up in the sky, and all throughout the Bible, it's telling you that God is you, you're one with God, and everything. Now, then, in Judaism, they don't believe that the devil is a separate entity. They believe it's just a faction or a part of God's makeup. You see, because there can only be one thing. God, couldn't possibly create anything evil because he's not evil. So whatever is created isn't necessarily evil. It's the contester. It's somebody to contest. But what Christianity have done, you see, they've made it evil. They've made the devil separate, and it's a separate entity outside of ourselves. And it's something that we should be terrified about. But this is why the Jews are much wiser, you see. Orthodox Judaism is much wiser. That's why they've got the Torah, which basically is premised in Kabbalah, because it's the whole Torah. They have the Zohar, yeah, and the Zohar is the mystical study or interpretation of the first 5 books of the Bible, and that's Kabbalah. And so the Kabbalists, which Jews are, they are fundamentally Kabbalists. They believe it's all one, so it can't be something outside of God. You see, and so the Christians, they've got it all.
Well,
it's all control, mate.
That's the point. Somebody that says you're not God is because they haven't recognized the God in themselves.
Exactly.
See, that's why I said real recognizes real, right? So if they're thinking that a God outside of themselves is really God, how could they find themselves as God if they don't recognize that God in you? They have to recognize that God in you first, and then the only way that you could be God is them knowing their God. That's the only way. And
Yeah,
you,
right.
a lot of those people are so deeply indoctrinated that that's just the way it is,
Yeah. So one of my viewers, he says that you're ready for a fall or something, telling the world that you're God and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, well, what's your handle on this? I'm very, very lowly. I'm nothing more than dirt. And I'm like, do you really suppose that an all loving God would want his beautiful children to have such a so self esteem about themselves in this beautiful creation that is created for us all to enjoy? Do you think that he wants you to consider yourself shit on somebody's shoe, so he will have mercy on you, and you're all humble, and you have to be the most purest of all human beings because you're the humblest? No, you're the stupidest. You're the one that's thrown your fucking life away. You're the one that will allow everybody to step on your face with shit on their boots because you don't think anything about yourself. I said, what on earth has gone on in your mentality? So I started asking about his childhood and things like that, right? And it turns out there's something very, very significant in his childhood. And I go, I want to talk about that more because there lies the root of your issue, And yet these people, they project on you from their pain and from their suffering and their desperation, and they can't stand to think that somebody else outside of them is more powerful and consider their God and is blasphemous and you must be stoned to death and all this sort of thing. When Jesus says, truly I say unto you, the kingdom of God is within you all. And all that I can do, you can do more. And oh my goodness.
Right.
It's said so many times, in these books, and yet people don't have ears for it. So what I wanted to speak to you about, Ziggy, is what do you think, in your estimation, what the fuck's going on with people in the 21st century when they are so unempowered? Shouldn't we be fucking empowered by now? With all this knowledge, shouldn't that be empowering us?
Yeah. That's basically being in lack of masculine energy. That's what I'm talking about when I said that man fell further and further from being God to being more manly. And then the manly just basically merged into the humanity of whatever ideas. See, when you leave that consciousness, you basically are, the body is programmable. Okay. And if you're not aware and conscious, then you're being programmed by whatever is being proposed outside of you. But there's nothing but the manifestation of the ego of man coming online. The ego is basically what I would consider the blocker of you becoming the best version of yourself, because it's in the comfort of its own sofa. It wants to be comfortable. It never likes to take risks. It likes to be in the safe zone. That's what the ego likes. It likes the whatever's programmed that knows that what it works. It's afraid of the unknown, so it only goes by what works. So let's say, for example, humanity lacks consciousness, which is masculine energy. You're in the majority of people are in feminine energy. You're proposed a program, which is the ego in action now. Manifestation of the ego is what you would see as far as like the people in power, government, all that fly shit. They propose this to you, you go along with it, and this is why they keep going further and further from God. They think they're making advancements. The more technology comes out, the more ideas come out, the more they say science is expanding. This is just them getting weaker and weaker and falling into a more of a negative state, a state of the unknown that's just basically going to be eventually robots taking over humanity. You know what I'm saying? The same way humanity took over God. It's the same
Are,
shit. And
are
eventually it'll
you
just go down the spectrum of,
are you
yeah.
briefly familiar with Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching?
I keep hearing about it, but I never really dwelled into that area of stuff. But I've heard bits and pieces of it.
Oh, okay. So again, it's in my book. I write extensively about that, and I, copy and paste the main parts of it because it's deeply, deeply enriching and important to us when we get a handle on that. So Lao Tzu, his philosophy is that the closer we are to the natural world, the more conscious we are, and the closer we are to cosmic consciousness. Well, that makes absolutely perfect sense because, like being in the Garden of Eden, just like forgetting all about the technology, all about the distractions, everything like that. We've had a garden, it's got beautiful fruit in it, and it's this, that, and the other. It's got everything we need. On this world is everything we need for natural forages and this, that, and the other. And we can live completely harmonious, beautiful lives without the evil distractions of the additional information, which is the knowledge of good and evil, which we apparently got from Satan. Because it's the information which is going to be our downfall. Because already there's so much information. This is what I said in one of my videos. I said this. I said, look what's happening to people. I put out videos, and people keep consistently watching my videos, and yet consistently not wanting to thumb up or not wanting to comment. And I'm saying the reason is because you fuckers, you're all dead. What I mean is that you're all dead. It's just like Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. They're spiritually dead. People are dead these days because they've become so numb with the abundance of all the riches that the world has ever known. We've got them in the Western world. All the riches that the world has ever known at this point, at this pinnacle where we are, we're the best it's ever been. And everybody takes absolutely everything for granted. So they become absolutely numb, dead. Because nothing turns them on anymore. They don't appreciate anything. Nothing's like wow anymore, Ziggy. I said what we need is we need a nuclear war or we need a meteorite. We need to go back to ground zero, and then you'll go fucking wow. A spoon of sugar, that's fucking wow. I haven't had sugar in 6 fucking months. That's the best. That's what we need again. Because the whole fucking human race is going to implode because they're dead. They're becoming dodos. When you think about that, have you noticed that? You get out there
I,
more than I do.
you know what's crazy? That a certain scene of the movie The Matrix came into mind. You remember Cypher when he went and he ate with Agent Smith, and he ate a piece of steak, but
Yeah,
it's something further from what the Matrix were eating. But he said he'd prefer that over being in the real world. He'd prefer to be in the illusion. He said, I prefer to be famous and enjoy these steaks. And that's what he'd prefer, even though he knew that was an illusion, right? But I
yep,
look at that just basically with everything else also, not just, let's say, the sugar, but even the sweetness of, like, let's say, an apple and whatnot. Even that sugar is still intoxicating to some extent. It's just that we don't consider it as intoxicating as these artificial sugars because these have become a stronger drug. You get what I'm saying? Like everything is considered a drug. People could be a drug. Nature could be a drug. Making videos could be a drug. You know what I'm saying? Like you even said that sometimes
yeah,
you feel disconnected. You plug in your video. It's no different than a man just playing video games all day. It's the same shit. You get the
yeah.
same dopamine response. Talking to people, you get a dopamine response. Like right now, you're having a positive dopamine reaction talking to me. I'm having the same in return with you. So, and with that even being said, because I agree with you, let me ask you this, because it's so based on like masculine energy. Suppose that you met a girl, right? You're open to meeting a female, right? You're a straight guy. Suppose that you met a female and she makes a lot of money and she becomes the breadwinner in your house. Does that make you any less of a man?
Is that going to affect how I feel about my masculinity?
Yeah,
Um,
because you said that a man is supposed to be the provider, but suppose that you met this chick,
yeah.
she just
Now,
happens to have a very good job. She gets paid. She takes care of you. She pays for everything in the house, and you know. now you got people criticizing you because she makes more money than you. Does that make you any
Yeah.
less of a man?
Yeah, and because you're pouncing on her because you've not got a job and she's paying for everything, and because she's in a position of power, which she would like, she would say, "Let's go here and let's go there." And if I say, "Oh, I don't really feel," "Oh, come on, I've been working all day," and she'll give you the guilt trip. It's kind of like, okay. So before you know it, you are the tail being wagged by the dog. And so you would become less of a man because you would be obliged to come under her jurisdiction. Unless you said, "Look, I know you earn all this money, but I've got my own fucking life. I don't want to go there and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that." Then she have a choice to say, "Well, fuck me. I want someone that's going to do all this shit with me. So I'll go and buy someone else." Yeah, there's lots of things to consider, isn't there, Ziggy?
You
Because
see,
we will
it's
get,
all like perspective either way. Okay,
yeah,
again, I'll let you finish. I thought you were done. Again.
we'll get compromised on so many different levels. We'll get compromised on physical levels, emotional levels, social levels, just like you said. Oh, your family and friends are going to be fucking saying this and the other. Yes, all these variables have a work on us. And so, one of the reasons I'm a very solitary person, because I don't want those variables manipulating me, because they do. And they will. And even I've cut off from family. I don't want family coming around, inquiring into my health, inquiring into my mental health, espousing that I should get out more and I should socialize and I should do this and I should do that. It's just a level of frustration. And I'm like, why do I need this? I don't need it. I'm much better off without it. You see?
But Aaron, suppose it that she wasn't trying to control anything. She just made more money than you, but you still like had control of your decisions, like the stuff that you wanted to do and whatnot. Because let's say, for example, if you just decided to just make videos all day and she's out working, making more money, it's like I said, it's equivalent to a man just being at home playing video games all day while the woman is out working. But how would this affect your manhood either way? Is my question, because you said that it's because she'd have more control. But what if she was just feminine and let you have the control? You were still the man of the house. Would that still affect your masculinity if you have people criticizing you that she makes more money than you? Does that affect your masculinity?
Well, if people were criticizing me, and if
This is
that's
very important to the topic of this video, just so you know.
yeah, I mean, I suppose there will be variables, Ziggy, that I've not experienced because I haven't never had that. And if I did experience that, then I would encounter
But
things that
suppose that you did, yeah.
yeah, supposedly, and
Suppose that
so
you did.
yeah, I mean, if I look at, well, if what is a man? A man that's goes out fending for himself, this and the other. Well, I don't fend myself. The state fends for me. So am I less a man because the state fends for me? I don't think so. And so, on the same principle, if a woman was paying everything, then I'm like, well, that's your choice. You choose to do that. I choose to do this, and so I'll keep my sovereignty. And so, no, I would retain sovereign. I would retain my sovereignty. I wouldn't be manipulated by the societal norms which are imposed upon me. What? How would you
I
think
think I
about that?
think I think you just don't have an emotional stance on it. That's why you're answering like that. But suppose you really liked this woman and you had this really emotional connection to her and you just liked her, because I believe that sometimes when you really like somebody, you start to alter your decisions of
Oh,
what you
well,
once thought you thought.
I probably would feel morally obliged, and I'd probably want to get involved. And there's lots of things. You see, look, if you are at home all day long and your partner comes home, well, that's the last thing they want to see, because it's kind of like, oh, he's doing the same old stuff again. He's always in the house, and it's all predictable. It's very, very boring. There's nothing more than turns a woman on when you come home dirty, you're covered in shit, or you're sweating, and you've been out in the world, because the pheromones are all different, and they come up to you, they want to cuddle you, they want to smell you, they want to rip your pants off because you smell sweaty and all this other stuff, and they've missed you. There's a whole fucking bunch going on to it. And so I know in a relationship, if you're at home, because when I've been with a long-term partner and I haven't had any jobs, there's nothing more that turns a woman off and stops her turning the pussy off if you are predictable. They don't want that, and if you're not being the provider provider, the man in her eyes. And if people say, "Oh, has Alan got a job yet?" "Oh, not yet." "Well, he's not got a job. He's supposed to be intelligent. He's supposed to be this." Well, what's going on? "Oh, yeah. Well, he must be a bit of a loser. At the back of the mind, must be a bit of a loser." Then all this stuff goes on, Ziggy. And it's going to play on us, yeah.
Do you think that maybe a little bit of insecurity stems from all this, or do you think that you're just following a specific order because that's just what it's programmed in society to follow? Um, Suppose that the woman that you met, do you believe a woman that you meet is a mirror aspect of yourself to some extent?
She's probably a projection of my criteria that I want in a woman.
So
I don't
you'll
know what
probably meet many different variables because it's not a concrete thing, but you'll meet many different variables of different people. Like I meet different walks of life. But suppose that you met a variable of a woman who was actually very, very wealthy because she had a lot of money, but you had a very close connection with her. You're telling me that you would still not do anything only because it is not societally normal and you would be afraid of people criticizing you that you are not the breadwinner and that she's the one that's providing for you and that makes you less of a man?
No, I honestly couldn't give you an honest opinion on this because it's something I haven't experienced, and I'd only be speculating about
You
it.
have to use your imagination because let's say, for example, if I let's say I debate
What do you
somebody,
want me
right?
to say?
You have to use,
What do you want me to say?
but listen. But I want you to be honest because here's the thing, though. A lot of the times you have to, whenever you use logic and reasoning, you also try to actually use analogies. Let's say, like when I debated people, I use semantics. They're very important in debates. Not that we're debating, but suppose that I give you, and it's just like people give you uh
Hang
analogies
on,
only
Ziggy.
to test
I've just got
your
someone at the
to
door.
test
Hang
your
on.
moral system or to
I've just
test.
got someone at the door. Just
Yeah.
let me pause this, and I'll tell. Alrighty. So yeah, my neighbour wanted to borrow my phone because he's run out of fucking credit. Fucking hell!
Good stuff, man.
I started singing an Elvis song to him, "Money Honey," because normally when he knocks on my door, he goes all long-winded, embarrassed way about saying it, and I'm like, "You fucking money honey, innit?" Okay, so why don't you tell me how you feel, and let me see if I agree with that in principle.
All right. Well, I'll tell you something from experience, okay? And this is the reason why sometimes I have certain positions based on experience, but sometimes again it's just based on common sense. We talk about energy, right? When we look at are you recording again, right? Because I hit
Yeah,
record on mine
yeah,
already.
yeah.
Yeah. You see how we talk about titles, right? One thing that's objective is that you're a man. That can never change. However you feel about that based on certain titles, that's just basically part of the game that we're playing. So she may have an accredited title because she went to school or took a certification course and got qualified to basically make that kind of money. Okay. Um, She's just playing the game. She took that masculine energy and decided to structure her life in a way for her to live a good life. But what would make you less of a man because she did that? You get what I'm saying? If she's giving you because in actuality, that would mean that a man is just basically the only one that's making money. When it's not even that, a man is basically the energy that has the guidance over the negative energy. So you basically still make the decisions um, and when you look at it from a real life perspective, let's say,
Yeah,
just
no,
based on real world, women tend to get, well,
my
I'm gonna
man.
finish. I'm gonna finish. Let me finish this thought. Women tend to get a little bit more influence than men do by soap operas, social media, TVs, their friends. They may get influenced a little bit easier than a man would, right? The reason why is women are a little bit more on the emotional side, but they're also what I would consider a manifestation of the subconscious mind of God, where they're basically receiving, but they can't tell the difference between a real or a fake experience, which is why the body is the church, and the church is basically the woman. The head of the church would be the consciousness. So the conscious mind, basically, when it's online, you're able to have guidance and order over being able to tell the body what's real and what's not. So when you're watching, let's say, certain things on TV, you may go into a slight hypnotic state. Your conscious mind goes offline. Your subconscious mind is more open and suggestive. This is why uh, I equated all this to the flower of life in my video. Because even women, when they decide to, let's say they didn't have guidance by their father, they decide to go make money online. They're basically influencing the man to open up their wallet to pay them money. They're using their body, they're exploiting their body to get money, right? But that's just basically what their worth and what their value is whatever the money is that they're getting from the man. Now, however, the man, which is the father, raises their daughter to not do things like that, to live in a Christian household, that's even up for debate because that's still all preferential. You get what I'm saying? Now, here's what happened with me. I was working as a bartender, okay? And I was making, Aaron, I will tell you right now, upwards, without exaggerating, 2 grand. I can make $2,000 in 2 days. If it was like certain parties, I can make even more than that. I was living fucking good at that time. For being a single man, I was making some fucking great money. And that's only working 2 days.
What's
I was
some
still
tip?
going to school doing what I had to do. I'm so Jason, there's just tips, bro. I wasn't even reporting this shit. It's just tips. Um, so I was living great, bro. I had 3 cars. I had everything going for me, bro. I had so many girls, Aaron. I'm not even exaggerating to you. Like literally, my word is a man. I must have had like 3 different girls. I had a lot of girls, and but I'm not. That's not something I'm very, very proud of. It's just something that because I was able to do it, it got my. Like I told you in the beginning of the video, it made me feel fucking strong and empowered. I went through these spiritual experiences and it dissolved all that. But all these things that I had, it's not like I left them. They kind of left me because my mind changed. You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
Now, during this time, I was still bartending. I met the girl that I'm with now. I met her. Okay. Now, here's how the scenario played out. She, I fell asleep because I was drunk, and she saw a message because I had my shit kind of opened. It wasn't like blocked. I had nothing, and she saw messages from different people there. And she started like I saw her in the bed like this, just sitting there. And I was asleep, and I get up and I see her, and yo, my heart just dropped. I was like, yo, what the hell happened? And then she shows me my phone, and dude, it was like fuck. I was like, I almost didn't even know what to do with myself, right? So she was like, you know what? It's just better if we break up. The first thing I thought about was my son. You get what I'm saying? Because at this time, I already had my son, but she was having doubts about me. And it kind of killed me because I've always really been honest with her is that the job I had was more or less like misleading people. Like I actually was more of a fantasy to certain people. So I kept on playing a certain role to try to get them to believe that there was potentially, like it's like I'm a fantasy, put it that way. So anyway, uh, before I was a bartender, I was always a manager. So at the age of 17, I was a manager at Blockbuster Video. And then I became a manager at Express, which is a very high end clothing store. I met this one bartender who told me about being a bartender. And that's how I became a bartender because I was working there, still making really good money as a store manager for Express. The thing is that it was a lot of hard work, bro. That was probably one of the most stressful jobs I had. And the guy was telling me, yo, just be a bartender, you make easy money, blah, blah. He kind of manipulated me into doing it. And I was like, yo, I'm going to leave this job to go do something like that. It's like not even a steady job. Anyway, I gave it a try and did it. And I made so much money that I ended up leaving that job. And I was a bartender for 7 years. But now here's the crazy part. I told my girl, I was like, look, I'll just quit because we had this fight for like 3 days, and I told her, look, I'll quit and I'll just go back to working regular shit. I'll go back to being a manager of like Express or something else because I didn't want to break up with her. I wanted to be with her because I wanted to be with my son. She wanted to leave me, and she goes, if you quit, then we can stay in our relationship. I did that. Let me tell you what happened, bro. My girl's always had a good job because I was always making more money than her, but she still had a good job. She was a medical assistant, still to this day doing that, making very good money, right? Anyway, I went to GNC to go apply as a manager there, right? And I talked to the DSD and the RSD, which is the regional sales director, and they said they didn't have any positions open, but they don't like to hire outside. They like to promote from within. They said that they'll give me a certain period of time if a management position opens, they'll give it to me. And I said, damn. But I was like, and I was gonna get paid just fucking minimum wage. Yo, so I talked to my girl about this, like, yo, I can't do this shit, man. They're gonna pay me this amount. She's like, just go through it. They said they're gonna promote you from within. Just give it a little bit of time. It's not like we need the money. We got a good savings account. She's making good money. She's like, she'll be willing to, you know, support and pay the bills if it came down to that we were short. So I was like, all right, cool. I went along with it. So I saw my first paycheck after 2 weeks, bro. I almost threw up. Like I literally had diarrhea probably for like 2 days. I literally was in such a depressed state because I looked at that shit and it was probably not even a quarter of what I would make just sneezing in the bar by accident. You get what I'm trying to say? And I was like, man, this is absurd. I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? But I endured it. To be honest with you, I had certain managers that were like kind of annoying to me because they were like, I don't like people telling me what to do. I've always said this. I'm like a natural born leader. I have to be a boss. I have to be the manager in every company. I've never been an associate. I got hired as a manager at 17 at Blockbuster Video only because I happened to land that position out of luck. You know what I'm saying? 17 and I was 18. I was already a store manager. But anyway, I saw my first paycheck. I went home. I told my girl, she's like, let's just keep it on. Anyway, I got promoted from within, right? I ended up getting promoted to an SSM, which is a senior store manager. And now I was in charge of people that were like barking down my throat. I was their boss. And it turned out to start to become a very good thing. Actually, it got so good that I was about to be an RSD, right? And before I became an RSD, I got pulled by the DSD who left the company to become a vice president for a supplement company. But he was so impressed with me, he pulled me out and got me to work for Performance, which is the supplement company that I ran for a certain amount of years. I was making a great amount of money again. But the moral of the story is that the whole time, this was in a matter of 2 years, she was sustaining the household. I wasn't even like sustaining myself anymore. But I never felt any less of a man because she was paying the bills. I was still the man of the house. I was still in charge of what happened in the house with my kid, when we did things. Not to say that I was the like I was her controller, but more or less like I had the last say. But we always did it by having a relationship where we would talk about it and we would come to an agreement. There's things that I may have went and decided that she didn't want to, and I may still concede and do it just to make her happy, but not to say that it would have altered my decision to say I'm any less of a man. It's just that's what a relationship is about. You have business relationships, you have loving relationships, whatever it may be. You may have a relationship in business with life. Because I say I have authority and structure over my life doesn't mean that I'm any less of a man if I decide to say, okay, I'm going to play in the system and entertain the realm of making money, right? Because if I was to say, oh, I have to, say, oh, money is part of the system and it's part of the game that I don't want to play because I want to be sovereign. I mean, does that make me any less of a man? No, it's going to bleed into areas where that even that system is designed to even work for me. Why I even bring this up? I even got into gardening here. And I realized that a man is not all about being a laborer or slave to even the land, right? Because when you look at the land, if you mimic what happens in nature, the land starts to work for you. You don't even have to work for the land. When I was a boss, I had my associates trained like mini me's where I had them working as if it was working for me and not me working for them. That's masculine energy. In the house is the same thing. But the illusion of the whole I'm making more money than you, I feel like that's a fugazi, if we want to call it. That's a lie. You get what I'm saying? It's not even about that. It's how you feel about yourself. I have balls. I got a dick between my legs. I know I'm a man, but I am expressing that in the form of a man in society. But if somebody else wants to tell me that I'm less of a man because my girl makes more money, and I believe that, I just basically let that man infiltrate my mindset on what I think myself as. It's like you. They tell you you're not God. Do you say, okay, fine, I may not be God because this dickhead said I'm not God? No,
Yeah.
you still know you're God. I know I'm a man, and it's not going to be determined by the girl making more money and whatnot. It's just that sometimes when you're in your manhood, you tend to make more money because that's just the way society is going to respond to you. It's not that you're going to be going in that direction because, you're forcing it. It's just going to happen for you. I
Yeah,
hope I made myself clear on that,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, peaks and
Yeah.
troughs. But you did say at the beginning that in times of your life when you have been earning lots more money, then you felt very empowered and you feel more confident with yourself, being a man and with women and all this sort of stuff. So having money does help.
But
Um,
that's an illusion, though. But it's an
well,
illusion, though, either way.
it buys you
It's
more.
just like the woman having a title making more money would make her a man. That's not going to make her a man. That's
Well,
just the title she
no,
has making more money because she's
money
playing the game correctly because she
you
has a
feel
mindset.
you do feel better when you got money in your pocket, and you must have felt better for those 2 years.
Absolutely.
Would have felt better if you had a big wad of money in your pocket and you should have said to her, "Hey, let's go and do this," or "I've just booked a holiday," and all that. But you couldn't do any of that because she had jurisdiction, with the money coming in, and so it must have touched your self-esteem a little bit.
It did not because here's the thing. I realized I had to sacrifice something to have something else work. But I wouldn't have changed if I didn't evolve in the position that I was in. So if I was making minimum wage, I had to evolve in the company. I had to do that through performance. I had to
Let
have
me ask you
faith,
this.
and faith
Let me
without
ask you
works is dead, right?
this, because I think maybe what do you say about this? Because you made a deal with her, and the deal was you're going to start
Hmm.
fucking all these girls, and you're going to take less money.
Hmm.
So because you made that deal with her, and you start fucking the girls, then it's kind of like, hey, I've started fucking the girls. What do you want now? Me to make him millions of pounds again? No. So you better accept me, on a quarter of the money I was, because I ain't fucking the girls. So did you feel more comfortable in your manhood because of that?
Well, here's the thing though. She wasn't gonna have it. She held her ground on what kind of relationship she wanted and what she wanted to deal with and not deal with. Right now, I could have been a what?
A monogamous
Say
one.
that again.
A monogamous one.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, here's
So
the
she
thing
made
though,
the
and I
deal.
respect that
Look,
because
I
she
can
stood her
fully
ground. That's her
appreciate.
masculine energy in action.
Yeah,
Now, I had to concede and I had to use my feminine energy and concede in that area if I wanted a certain outcome. That's the whole thing. That's what a relationship is about. You get what I'm saying? It's not one. People don't realize that a relationship is with it, you become one. The moment you have sex with her or you're married, whatever your definition is, you're one. You're one machine. That's basically one company dealing, and you're it's you as one machine, not two different individuals. Yeah, I had a call come in, but I'll let you go on. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I don't know what I was saying. I just asked that question. Um,
Well, you
uh,
asked me the question, but I said it didn't make me feel any less of a man.
yeah.
Even the fact that I had to concede. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure of my manhood. That's the whole thing. Like, there's people who can't be around gay people because they, they're homophobic. But where does that come from? What are they afraid they're gonna like it? Like, I could be around gay people, it ain't gonna bother me. There's certain people who just can't do certain things, and I feel like that stems out of certain fear or insecurities. Like, it doesn't affect my manhood conceding to my girl on certain things. You get what I'm saying? Like, because I actually want the outcome to be different as well. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So how does that affect your manhood?
If you are within a relationship whereby you consider yourselves as one, and there's not a competition, and there's no embarrassment, why would there be? You both love each other, you're both working for the same thing. It's the unity of the family. You got affluent times, and tight times, and all this. And so under those circumstances, then it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, why would you feel less of a man? But if you weren't that bonded and you only had a girlfriend, and you knew that the girlfriend was a bit of a high flyer, and she's a bit of a looker, and she likes being wined and dined, and she likes driving around in a fucking convertible, fucking this, that, and the other. If you've got one of those girls, then you might just feel a bit twitchy.
Well, here's the thing, Aaron. I met that kind of girl too. I told you I have many different kind of girls, but there was those type of girls that were like, oh, I like to be pampered, pamper me, and it's like it just turned me off. But I had the ability to just say, get the fuck out of my life. But here's the thing, though. This is why it's important to know yourself, to know who you're even getting involved with. You get what I'm saying? I'm with this girl still 14 years later. We've been through the ups and downs, and here's the thing, man. I've even realized that I don't even curse at her. When we fight, we never disrespect each other. We never say "fuck you, bitch." We don't use these kind of languages with each other, and that I feel is something way more uh, valuable than anything else I can possibly find
Yeah,
in
because
any
you
kind
can't
of
go back
relationship.
from that. You can't go back from that. If when
You
you
can, and you can't like even like let's say if I ever felt like I wanted to hit her, I have to find out why that is, man. Like, do you just impulsively go hit her? That's you, even not, but that's not a masculine man. That's an emotional man. That's a man who got taken over by his animalistic nature and went and hit the girl. Like, you already know you're stronger than her, right? Why the hell would you beat her up? Suppose that if you're the type of guy that wants to be a chauvinistic, like you're the man that, and she has to do what you do, but let's suppose what you say, but suppose that she didn't, what are you going to do? Hit her? You know what I'm saying? Like these red pillars go on the fucking internet, start talking all this shit. The question I want to ask him is: supposing they didn't do that, what are you gonna do? Hit the girl?
yeah,
Like what are you gonna do?
but you could say that, but there are variables. There are variables, and
There's many variables. I get it, but we have to use
we all
extremes
know.
just to test
We all
people's
know.
logic.
that there's been many, many, many millions of people, males, that have hit women under certain circumstances, and those circumstances may be one-off, they may be rare, they may be because you've been traumatized, they may be for a lot of fucking reasons. So it does happen. We can't just say that don't happen. And if a man does do that, then he's not a man. You know what I'm speaking about. There's lots of things that underlie. Now let's just have a look at Johnny Depp and Amanda, or whatever her name was. In a heat of a fight where Johnny Depp has just had his finger split open, he's had a bottle thrown at her, and she's probably coming at him with a knife. Is it justified if he gives her a slap? I think it is. And so I'm not buying this never hit a woman thing. But anyway, let's not get too involved in that.
No, we don't have to get involved in that. But at the end of the day, I'm not even talking about it from a self defense point. There's guys who would hit their girl just because they didn't listen to them. You get what I'm saying? They didn't follow their
Yeah,
rules or some shit. I've seen this all the time, man.
there's
Or
many.
if the girl just pisses you off, think about this, man. If a fly is bothering me, am I gonna get into a fight with a fly? You get what I'm saying? Like I look at that situation as I'm too big to entertain something like that. If I got to a point that I want to hit the girl, I would have to make a major decision either to leave her or
Yeah,
figure out why that is because it's happening for some strange reason. It's something that's triggering me to that point. You
yeah.
get what I'm saying? But not everybody has that awareness. That's the masculine side
Hear me out
being
on
in
this.
order. It's like, do you
Hear
look?
me out
There's
on this.
people who get into fights in listen. I'm gonna cut it off. There's people who get into fights in public, and then they end up in jail, and later on they're like, man, I don't even know why I did that. I regretted it. But sometimes it takes the bigger person to walk away, so to avoid those kind of issues, because you're in a realm that's set up in a way where you're supposed
Exactly.
to fulfill a societal
And
contract,
men can walk away from those 1,000 times, but
and it takes the
one
bigger person, and it
maybe
takes so much to do it. There's a lot of strength.
maybe one occasion when they don't. And so, I would never break a man's balls because I've been in situations. And, let me just run this one by you. My old man's best friend, who he knew for 50 fucking years, he lived with this woman. Who he discovered one night had put a carving knife under the mattress of the bed. For whatever nefarious reason. So he discovered the carving knife under the bed after they'd been arguing this, that, and the other. And they ended up arguing, and he ended up strangling her. And he got 3 years in prison. He was out in one. Okay. Why did he only get 3 years? Well, because the court decided that, she was plotting to kill him. Going through, the weapon under the bed, concealed, and this, that, and the other.
But
And
that's
so,
based on evidence, though,
well, yeah, it was based on evidence, and so
right?
therefore it was out in 1 year. But then you could say, well, a man should never strangle another woman, and a woman should leave long before that, but they don't. It happens all the time through curious fucking circumstances, and so this is why we have courts of law. We have reasonable, rational people in juries and that to assess these situations. And so I would just say keep open-minded about things and never say never.
But here's the thing, though, man. Let's suppose if we want to get micro and detail with shit, he had to still spend a year in jail, though. He would potentially have had 3. That's years, days, hours, minutes. You don't get that back. What would have happened in that year or 3? Some people's lives change in a matter of 1 to 3 years. So suppose if the variable would have changed where he didn't do that, and he was able to find a different alternate route, right? Or even know who he actually sleeps with, because a lot of people sleep with the devil only because you don't know that you actually are that devil. And again, it's all a mirror reflection of yourself. It's not always going to be a direct mirror. When you point fingers, man, I'm telling you, if you sit back, take these breaths and take your time, you'll see that it's actually, you're projecting all this shit. You even say it in your videos, man. You're projecting your reality, man.
Yeah,
So it's like,
absolutely.
either way you put it, I could get micro detailed. If you got your freedom taken away, you took it away yourself by
Yeah.
choices that you could have changed the variable on.
Hey, Ziggy, listen me out on this one. One day I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
this. One day I'm going to write about this. But let's just say
Mhm.
you go to prison for a whole year, and that year was one of the best years you ever had because you learned
Absolutely.
so much from it. You grew so much from it. You learned so much about yourself and about the cosmos, about spirituality, and all that different sorts of stuff. And when you came out, you was a better man. Well, every man should do it then. In that case,
That's
every man.
finding the pros and cons of it, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
absolutely.
listen,
I
we've done
agree with
2
that.
hours and 2 minutes. So shall we wrap it up on this one? Because if we get involved, we'll go on, probably for vastly longer.
Yeah.
So I
Do
think
you feel you have satisfaction or clarity on the topic that you wanted to talk on, which is basically what makes a real man. Let's say the
Well,
shrinking
let me ask
violets, as
you.
you would call them. I
Let me ask
actually like
you.
that term. I'm going to start using it, by the way, because that actually is pretty cool. Shrinking violets, you call them?
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, but I like it. But do you feel satisfied with the answers I've given you? Is it clear? Is there something that you're not sure on that I can clarify before we cut this? Because
Yeah.
this is a pretty important topic, I think.
Yeah, I want. Okay, let's just do 15 more minutes then. Something like
Yeah.
that. Um, uh, if you can elaborate on your personal experience, because I don't get out there, I don't mix with them anymore. It's been a long time,
Hmm.
Ziggy, since I've been interacting. So maybe I'm losing touch. And you see, if you only watch the greatest of intellectuals and the deepest of study, then your world changes, and you start to live in a world which is far flung from the so-called reality, which of course everyone's in a different reality. But when I'm appealing to my viewers, and I'm saying all the stuff I do, and I'm the first to say that it's very useful and great content, and I can't understand why people watch me for years and years and years and years won't come and do what we're doing. I want to know, what the fuck is it? What level of fear and insecurity and all the rest of it? People say, "Oh, we're all different." I say it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that, because it's only fucking talking. So, and when people say, "I prefer to put emails," why do you prefer? There's a deep underlying psychological reason why you prefer to do that, to keep your face out of it. So stop hiding from me. That's what I'm saying. Stop fucking hiding from me, and stop hiding from yourself. So what do you think about that?
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's fear and insecurity, but I also see that a lot of your followers are have that messiah complex. A lot of them do. They tend to have this worship thing. They put you on a pedestal to some extent, and again, nothing wrong with that. It could be the way you relay your message, that you make yourself look like a messiah complex. You attract that kind of people. Um, I don't want that kind of crowd in my channel. I really don't. I never want that kind of crowd in my channel. There's people who may give me feedback on my videos, but I don't like the praising me type of shit. I'm like, nigga,
Hey,
look in the mirror,
I
bro.
get
You
my
guys
fair,
have the same
I get
fucking
my fair
capabilities, bro.
share of people fucking,
No, no,
wanting
I
to
do. I know you do. I know you do. I'm just giving you an example as to
be
you get that
balanced.
small flock. Those are
Uh,
the ones that would actually put the emails in there and not want to put their face on cameras. It's stemming out of either fear, or they don't want to be uh, criticized in public for the things that they say or believe in, because they don't truly believe maybe in what they believe. Or it could be that they don't have thick skin. They can't handle the criticism. Either way you put it, they don't want to put their face on camera. Family members could see it. Friends of theirs could see it. Me personally, I don't give a fuck. I'll fucking tell family members, friends, look at my videos. Yeah, that's what I'm about. You know what I'm saying? If you have something to say, come on camera, and I'll do you like I do anybody else on camera who wants to challenge me. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a standing ground where if you decide to challenge a worldview of mine, I will I would love to be challenged and challenge you, and do it where everybody else can get the benefit of watching it and learn something from it. But at the end, it's still coming out of love. I never want it to be where it's, bad blood between me and whoever it is. I always like it where it's an octagon, iron sharpens iron, but we at the end of the day have a good sportsmanship. That's my relationship with life. Life, you're going to encounter adversaries, but it should never be fundamentally rooted out of hate. You get
yeah,
what I'm
because
saying?
look,
That's paralyzing.
what we're doing, we're educating in a way.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
putting out what we think is a reasonable thoughts, and for anybody that's listening to them, obviously find them interesting and useful. Otherwise, they wouldn't listen. And so, if somebody doesn't agree with you or I, then you would do what we're doing now. When in the past I've mentioned you in a video, you're like, "Hey, let's talk because I want to fucking. Why did you say this and why did you say that?" And then we went through it, right? There's no animosity, nothing like that. And
But
so,
no,
um,
it's not. That's a perfect example. I like that.
saying
That's the right way it is.
when people come on, I'm the biggest gentleman they'll ever really meet. I'm not about
That's right.
belittling anybody and nothing like that. Nobody can ever say that
100%.
about me. So what it is then
I've
is
never seen that.
fear base. It's some sort of fear base, isn't it? And I'm trying to work that. It could be
Yeah.
a million things, but nobody will ever tell me that the real truth, that I'm afraid because I'm not that articulate. Well, some people say I'm not much of a talker. Okay, I get that. But when people profess to be super enlightened and intelligent and that, and then they still can't come
Those are
on.
the ones I want to talk to, actually.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
the ones I want to
Those
talk
are
to.
the
They're
ones I
the
would
ones
like
I
to be
smell a
talking
rat.
to.
I'm smelling a rat. You know, this
You know
is
what's
it.
crazy though? Yep. Yeah. Good.
Oh, I was just
Good.
going to say that we are sharpshooters. We're sharp thinkers, and we've always got something to say to back up anything that we do say. So that's a quality, Ziggy, and that's a quality that many people don't have. And so I think we fail to realise
Yeah.
that on lots of occasions
You
because
know one thing I can't stand is a fucking hypocrite. I feel like that's one of the biggest parasites and plagues on the. See, one thing about me is if I don't like you, you're most likely gonna probably know this in the first interaction. I can't hide that. It's like something that does not allow me to hide. I may not be rude to you, but you're gonna know that I don't really particularly like you. You know, and I'd rather people be the same way with me. Honestly, if you don't like me or you have a problem with me or even the stuff that I say, understand this. I'm not attached to my information. I'm not emotional about the information, but I have a stance and I enjoy the debates. I love it. I enjoy being adversarial at times, but I'm not coming out of hatred. It's coming out of me being able to play a game where if we're gonna be in the realm and not of it, but we can entertain polarities. Let's
yeah,
have a game and let's see who comes
it-
out on top. But at the end of the day, everybody benefits because either I learn something or that person learns something or the viewers learn something. But I'm not attached to the info. I'm not my information, but I know what I know. And if you can challenge me and maybe I may have had a hole in my game, boom, put it in there. I will gladly be like, yo, that was fucking fire. Good game. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's just the way I am. But I don't like hypocrites. But in a nutshell, that's my biggest pet peeve. If you have a problem, tell me. Just fucking say it. I fucking hate hypocrites, bro. Like that's
yeah,
my fucking. And I try to always be very, very. I even said this in my videos. Be upfront and authentic because that's what I want back. If anybody wants to believe and be the frequency you want to receive, man, be honest. That's it. Like I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna be authentic. If I like you, I'll tell you. If I don't, then I'll be nice to you. I'm not normally like just to, but I'm not gonna. You're not gonna know I don't like you.
yeah.
That's just the way it is.
So, but to cap this one off, then I suppose that doing what we do is not too dissimilar to pop stars on the stage or comics on the stage or whoever takes a platform and has the confidence to convey themselves. 100%. They're far and few between. There's not millions and millions and millions of comics queuing up to get on the same stage. The here and there. Groups they'll make it and then they're out there, then they do it. But the vast majority of people are not doing all this stuff, and so we can get into false perceptions of the world and things like that because if we're watching videos of articulate people like us, and that's all I watch, I can't watch anyone that isn't articulate and isn't vastly
Right.
intelligent, knows a lot of stuff. So that's always my feedback. I'm not watching anybody else, and so I lose touch of the caliber that I'm within. And then when I'm saying to everybody, "Well, come on, then look, come and do it," I'm expecting everybody, to at least be something similar. But then I think to myself, well, look, if someone says to me, Aaron, there's a open mic down the pub tonight. Come on, you play guitar, you come down. I'll go. I'm not ready for that. What are you fucking on about? You're not ready for it. You put your videos up all the time. You've been playing for 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the finished result after loads and loads of mistakes. If I go on the stage, I'm
Right.
going to make mistakes. I'm not ready for it. So I would say that. I'd say that to the person. I wouldn't make excuses. My guitar, I need to clean my guitar. I need to restring my guitar. All this bullshit. I'm just going to say, I'm not up for the fucking job. Why can't people say that? Insecure. They can't reveal the
Insecurity.
true insecure, aren't they? The world is too insecure. And people like us, we are
Do you have
actually.
any? Do, do you observe any insecurities in yourself? Are you aware right now? If I was to ask you, are you aware of any insecurities now, Aaron? What would you say?
I would say no, there isn't any. I've I've
No
I've
insecurities
resolved
though.
I've resolved everything. And if there are failings, I've just said I couldn't go on the fucking stage. I've been playing guitar for fucking 20 years. Most certainly by now I should be able to go on the stage because I've done well over 10,000 hours. But I'm just not built that way to be able to remember the songs and to be able to do them. When I put a song up on here, I've fucking been singing it through for 20 times, and every single time I make a mistake in it. And it's kind of like people
Oh,
could say that, well, people do make mistakes. Yeah, but I'm a perfectionist. I'm kind of like, I want it to be right. And so maybe, all the viewers who decline me, they want their oratory to be absolutely right. So maybe, I'm pretty similar to them in lots of respects. Just putting it out there, see what you feel.
Hey, I, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe math is a language and information?
I believe math is, in actual fact, the language of the cosmos. Because alongside a cosmic consciousness, which is a spiritual level, but if we're looking for fundamental language in which to describe the cosmos by, well, scientists seem to be able to do it very, very thoroughly with math, whereas they can't articulate it. And you see, this was one of the issues in the early 1920s, when one of the scientists, I don't know whether it's Schrodinger, he started to draw, these atoms and molecules on a blackboard in front of his physicist colleagues. And they all went, what the fuck? What the fuck? You can't put this math up like that, this, that, and the other. And he was saying, well, how the fuck we're going to be able to convey this to people who are not mathematicians? We've got to have this intermediary. Otherwise, they'll never know what the fuck we're on about, because we can't articulate it in words, because it's a language unto itself. It doesn't work in words, And so therefore, what we
Yeah.
get some watered down bullshit. They're talking about atoms and molecules, which we all learnt in school. But now the physicists say, well, look, there isn't really any atoms and molecules. It's just fucking energy. And there's no matter there at all. But tell that to kids in school. How are you going to tell that to kids in school? You can't, can you?
Yeah. Yeah. Man,
So
I think we could wrap it up there because I think that. Oh, again, you had a question?
I was just going to say, you see how everything's a projected fiction. Everything has to be a projected fiction for us to get our heads around it, because we can't get our heads around that we're a dream in the mind of God. That doesn't work. Unless, of course,
Right.
you've
Right.
traveled a journey.
You know what's funny though? I look at, like I said, creation's created. You change variables, but math and numbers. I mean, you can basically measure a business's success through the numbers. Like you could. There's a lot of ways that people measure the level of information, even in life, based on numbers. You get what I'm saying? We use it to measure your age. You could equate that with wisdom. We could use it to measure amount of calories you're intaking, the amount of time you spent online and consuming information. All that is
Size,
numbers, man.
the size, the brain
Bicep
size,
size. We have a
the,
we
the,
can
the,
have a
the,
big zig energy and shit.
short-sighted, long-sighted,
D-
everything is numbers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Dick measuring contests and shit.
Yeah,
Like all that. It involves numbers, bro.
yeah, and you see, they don't say that we created math. They say we've discovered it.
Mhm.
Math is the fundamental premise of our understanding of the cosmos.
Yes,
So
but it
it's
was
like
discovered from the mind of man, though,
it,
and
it,
man is creating the universe as we speak. It's just like
yeah,
I said. I don't believe.
it means nothing to squirrels or
Again,
fucking badgers or hedgehogs. It means nothing to trees. It only means
see
something to
the
man.
right. Well, here's the thing. The reason you have consciousness is because I am giving you consciousness. I'm collapsing you into existence. Everything in life that I'm observing is a mirror aspect of myself. Now, the level of consciousness of certain individuals is mirror and aspects and different versions of myself. That's all it is. So if I
Yep,
see a stupid person, it's just a stupid version of myself in a different body. But
yep.
it's still me. It's kind of like saying I'm in a relationship with a girl, and let's say I break up with her because I realize she's toxic. If I don't change myself, then I'm gonna attract the same person just in a different body. So when
Yep.
you look at people outside of you, they have consciousness because I am giving them consciousness. I am breathing the breath of life into them only because I'm breathing. That's what makes me Christ. The whole thing is we can even see trees. We see everything in nature. When I talked about this in one of my videos, that there's technology to measure that the rings of trees actually hold certain information. So when you look at that, that's pretty fascinating, right? Because we are walking trees and we are made of water. Water holds information. We got the word memory. We use the prefix and suffix. That's water and light. When you look at it, we're just an advanced form of technology of a tree because we're able to walk. Only we're separating ourselves because we have rubber shoes. But if we plant ourselves and truly become present, even hugging a tree, there's actually chemical responses to that. There's a chemical exchange. There's oxytocin. There's a lot of things that are happening. The tree is actually having an experience through you when you hug a tree. The same way if you consume a plant, the plant not having a nervous system or consciousness it's basically having it through you, and you having the experience is basically manifesting itself and you being the observer, but you associate with it and you think that you're the one having the experience when in actuality the plant is showing you something. You know how they say that even psychedelics, that the plant is showing you something? It is, but you're not having the experience. The plant is having the experience through you and you're observing it. It's just about not associating with it.
Perfect. This is what I've often said, and again, it's in my book.
Yeah,
Um, when I was taking Amanita muscaria, energies came within me and lived vicariously through me. Three energies:
that's right.
a Viking came into me, a wolf came into me, and a primal man came into me. I absolutely knew their presence. They started manipulating my body how they would. I was a wolf down on all fours, running through the forest, woo, woo, sniffing all the fucking
Yep.
trees. I was doing all this stuff. I was absolutely highly conscious that I was doing it, but this energy was working through me. And then when it left after about 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, what the fuck was that? And Paul was filming me. So we had all these on,
Yeah.
on video. And so, yeah, these mushrooms. So that's exactly what happens. The plant, everything has experienced what it is to be a human life when we ingest them. So all these cows and sheep and goats and everything, via their molecular structure being ingested in us, they're learning that energy is learning what it's like to be a human being.
Well, this is very important too. Not, you notice how some people have good trips and bad trips. It depends on the energy of the person, the frequency of the person that you're allowing certain versions of a spirit in. So, for example, like even when you drink alcohol, alcohol is called spirits. If you're happy, you may be a happier drunk. But let's say if you're depressed, you're only allowing a depressive state to amplify in your body, and that's why when we drink alcohol, it's called spirits. That's why I don't drink if I'm depressed or in a low state. I'd rather drink when I'm celebrating and I'm doing something that I love doing, which sometimes I make videos, I may take a shot. It might enhance the energy expression of myself, the energy I'm channeling through me, right?
Yep.
Same way when you take psychedelic trips. That's why when you take ayahuasca trips, they'll tell you abstain from sex, don't eat meat, don't eat, because they want you to purify and cleanse your spirit, your aura a little bit, so that you're not open and receptive to negative energies.
And so there's no other spirits, residues within you.
Right.
So once you've
That's what we
fasted.
call parasites.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because there's going to be residues in your stomach and this, and the other. This is why they say when you take mushrooms, and I always do, take them on an empty stomach after 12-hour fast or something like that, and you got to empty all the
That's
shit
right.
out of your mind and empty it all out of your heart, and then you go and you ask the mushroom for a certain experience, and then you go into it.
That's
You
right.
got to pave the way because this is what's going to be having it, and so you've got to turn all the cogs in the relevant position to be conducive to what you want to achieve. Because
That's right.
I thought about this the other day, right? And this is what I never do. I thought, well, one day soon I'm going to do another 3.5 grams of mushrooms, and then I just thought about taking them in the house, and I thought, that's the last thing I'm ever going to do because just as I'm walking out the door, I'll get a family member or a neighbor or something, some pressing importance where I can't get away, and then all of a sudden I'll be tripping in a situation which I
Yeah.
can't get out of.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, if a friend or family member just showed up, Aaron, you got to come and help us. And all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm on 3.5 grams of shrooms. What the what sort of a
I'm
fucking
not
trip am
very,
I going to have?
you're like, I will not be very conducive for you right now.
Yeah,
Might
so
have to stay away from you.
yeah, what I do is I make sure I'm in the field with no fucker around me before I get them down the
Well, that,
road.
you notice that even with alcohol, sometimes when you drink alcohol, you get so drunk that you do things that you regret the next day, right? So there's things that obviously take the wheel. Your conscious mind is offline, and then later on you may regret to the point that you may not even remember what the fuck you did. You get what I'm saying? Like when you have a
Yep.
hangover. I mean, and this is just on a light level. We do this with food. People don't realize that certain foods, information sometimes is intoxicating because it puts mental, mind viruses in you, and they fester in there. It's just like food that's undigested converts to alcohol, ammonia, nitrogen is waste. To the point that even if you take a breathalyzer test, you may actually come up positive for alcohol, and that's just food that's undigested that became toxic in the system, and it converted into alcohol, and that's how you would become positive on a breathalyzer. Meanwhile, you never intoxicated with yourself with actual alcohol. You see that
Yeah.
shit? That shit is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
There's a guy that ate oatmeal and then had watermelons afterwards, and he got pulled over and he went to jail for that. And all he
What?
did was have oatmeal and watermelon, only because one digests slower, the other one festered and fermented on top.
Oh, fermented in
That's
his stomach.
crazy shit. That's a real
Wow.
story.
Crazy
Yeah,
shit. All
very
right, Ziggy.
powerful.
Fantastic chat as always. Great to speak with a real
Yeah, yeah.
man. And so it's good to know there's at least one in America.
Man, this was a very enjoyable chat for me too. I'll tell you right now, it's probably one of our best ones because it was very informative. I liked it. I like when we're super thorough and informative on
We
things,
say that
and we
every
were
time.
very receptive to each other. You know,
Yeah, we say that every time, though, don't we?
today's a good day. You know, the full moon's in Aries, right? And I'm in Aries,
Right.
so it's a perfect day for me. Actually, I'm more connected to my feminine energy today, as
Uh-huh.
you can see, bro. Mhm.
Okay.
Today is particular. The full moon in Aries, bro. It's today.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So you happen to, and you know what's funny? You asked me for this chat, and it fell on a perfect day for me. I feel, and I even said, I was like, you know what? It's perfect. It's like synchronicity. It perfectly matches the topic too. You know that you wanted to
yeah.
talk on. So I
But,
felt like it was a very good
we
chat.
haven't spoken for a couple of months when normally we'd spoke every 2 weeks or something.
Hmm.
But all of a sudden it just felt right, and we did it, and that's it. Yeah, great stuff. And so, well, enjoy the rest of your
Yeah,
day. Then you've got your whole day ahead of you now. Mine's in evening time now, and so yeah, cool,
yeah.
Ziggy. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you very much, and we'll talk again, bro.
You're welcome.